Ethan and Alex stared at Nathaniel in horror, as if he'd finally lost it. "You haven't told them, have you?" Aria quipped, giving Nathaniel a sidelong glance. "Come now, this is gold. And adorable to see how freaked out they are on my behalf, honey," Nathaniel replied. Ethan frowned. "Honey?" Alex repeated. "You guys are still together?" Aria nodded. "More like got back together," she replied in a conspiratorial whisper. "You should have seen the looks on your faces. Thank you for the concern, guys. Ariana is now my wife," Nathaniel clarified, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "What? Since when?" Ethan exclaimed. "I believe we're nearing our first anniversary," Aria replied, as Nathaniel moved behind her, encircling her shoulders with his arms. "And we already have 2 boys, Owen and Liam," Nathaniel announced proudly, observing the gamut of emotions playing out on his friends' faces. Initial surprise, followed by relief, then shock. "2 boys already? How did that happen?" Alex blurted out. "My man," Ethan interjected, extending a congratulatory hand to Nathaniel like a proud peacock. Nathaniel accepted the gesture with a chuckle. "You know it," he replied, and they both erupted into laughter. "That was quite the scare," Ethan admitted, breathing a sigh of relief. "For a moment there, I felt like I was getting dragged into the middle again. You 2 are going to be the death of me, I swear." "How far along are you in your pregnancy?" Anna inquired eagerly, her face lighting up with excitement. "We're about 6 months along now," Aria replied with a beaming smile. "Another pair of boys," Nathaniel added, earning enthusiastic congratulations from Ethan and Alex. "Congratulations, man," they both chimed in. "Did you bring the boys with you?" Ethan asked eagerly. "I'd love to meet them." "Are they identical?" Alex added. "Do they take after Nate or you, Aria?" Anna asked. "Perhaps you should judge for yourself when you meet them, Anna," Aria teased. "And yes, we did bring them along. They're probably keeping my men on their toes as we speak," Nathaniel added with paternal pride. "Gosh, I wish we could ditch this and go meet them right now," Ethan remarked wistfully. "This shouldn't take too long, I hope," Nathaniel replied with a wry smile. Aria couldn't help but notice that Anna stood close to her side instead of going to Alex as usual. Darting her gaze between them, she wondered what the issue was and hoped it could be resolved. As the 5 encircled a table, 3 school officials gracefully ascended the stage, prompting a round of applause that rippled through the expansive hall as they made their way to the lectern. The university president, a distinguished older gentleman, stepped forward to address the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed alumni, and cherished guests, aloha, and welcome to the opening night of our Harvard School retreat here in the breathtaking beauty of Hawaii," he greeted, eliciting another resounding round of applause. He chuckled as the noise gradually subsided. "It is an absolute delight to see so many familiar faces and to extend a warm welcome to all of you who have traveled from near and far to join us for this special occasion," he continued. "As we gather here tonight, surrounded by the lush landscapes and serene waters of this tropical paradise, I am reminded of the profound sense of community and camaraderie that defines our Harvard family. Tonight marks the beginning of a journey of connection, collaboration, and celebration. It is a time for us to come together, to reminisce about days gone by, and to revel in the bonds that unite us as alumni of Harvard School. As we indulge in the culinary delights of this Hawaiian feast and take to the dance floor under the stars, let us savor every moment of this evening's festivities. Let us embrace the spirit of aloha, the spirit of love, warmth, and hospitality as we forge new friendships and strengthen old ones. Tomorrow we will come together once again for the important work of fundraising. But tonight, let us simply enjoy each other's company and the beauty of this magical island retreat. But before we embrace the exciting activities planned for this occasion, let us acknowledge one of our own who has chosen to be our hostess. You all know her as Miss Agatha McCarthy, but she is now Mrs. Agatha Caldwell. Please, a round of applause for Mrs. Caldwell and her illustrious partner for according us the opportunity to share in this lovely establishment. Illustrious indeed. Nathaniel heard someone scoff from behind. The 2 should be applauding us. We brought business to this overpriced, dying dinosaur of a place, another voice whispered, It's been more than 5 years since we left school, and Agatha McCarthy is still the same, taking undue glory, another voice chimed in. I won't say she is the same. I can see the bad nose job from a mile away, and she needs to take it easy with the lip fillers, another voice whispered, causing a ripple of laughter from behind. Arya watched as the president gestured to Agatha, who stood with an average-height gentleman, whom Arya guessed to be at least 15 years older than Agatha. The man was a little chubby with a long, thin nose and matching lips. He carried himself with an aristocratic air, his stern stare and curt nod commanding attention. Arya darted her eyes from him to Agatha, noticing for the first time that Agatha's nose looked different than she remembered, confirming the whispered gossip from the back. Girl, do I have tea to spill? Anna whispered close to Arya's ear in a sing-song tone. Arya chuckled in response. Mahalo nui loa, thank you very much for being here tonight and for being a part of the Harvard legacy. Let the celebration begin. Enjoy the evening, everyone, the president concluded. I suppose this is the part where we mingle? Alex asked hesitantly. This is the part where I drag my husband to the open field. Let's go outside, my love, Arya interjected. Nathaniel grinned. He didn't understand why he was taken aback by her public use of endearment for him, especially in this particular setting, but it warmed his heart to see that she was completely in with him now. He allowed her to interlace her fingers with his, but pulled her back as she made to lead him. Using the other hand to frame her neck, he pressed a kiss to her lips, not minding the barrier of the masks they both wore. When he let her go, she held his gaze, the sides of her eyes wrinkled in a smile. His heart constricted at the warm glow of affection in her eyes. Ethan fist-bumped him afterward, and the five milled out of the hall. Following the uniformed service personnel along a paved pathway, they were led to the beach, where a large bonfire was lit at the center of the shore. The crackling sound mixed with the rhythmic beating of the Hawaiian drums and the humming of a song as beautiful women dressed in grass skirts and floral tops danced in slow, rhythmic moves to the sound. As they neared the sitting area situated at a safe distance from the fire, the women placed woven leis around each guest's neck, welcoming them with smiles and gesturing to the spread of food lined up on either side of large Arabian rugs spread out all over the beach, with bean bags framing the edges and big scented candles placed at the center, creating a cozy and inviting atmosphere. The candles emitted a mix of cinnamon and lemon scents, blending with the lovely aroma of barbecued seafood. Arya suspected the candles were also insect repellents. After exchanging pleasantries with a few familiar faces, Ethan noticed Andrew and Aidan standing nearby, watching. Hey, man, Ethan called out in greeting. He, Alex, and Nathaniel then walked over to them. Arya and Anna watched as the men shook hands. Now, left alone with Anna, Arya probed, Is it me? Or are you giving Alex the cold shoulder? Her voice was low and barely above a whisper. It's the least he deserves for what he did, Anna replied, and Arya's eyebrows furrowed as she noticed the slight tremor in her voice. What did he do? Arya asked. We'll talk later, Anna replied, and flashed Arya a fluttering smile. They all still look so good, don't they? She added. Arya gave her a searching gaze. We have to give them a few more years of reunion to truly be able to judge accurately. We are all still in our early 30s after all, Arya quipped, making the other woman giggle despite her mood. I kind of told Agatha I spotted grey hair on her temple earlier, though, she added. Anna gasped before bursting into laughter. Arya was glad she was able to distract her. Don't tell me she's already poking you, Anna whispered back. She spotted me in the East Wing and immediately assumed I was trying to catch Nathaniel's attention or something, Arya replied, chuckling. Seriously? The nerve! Doesn't she realize you're just as popular and respected as Nathaniel now? I'd be jealous if I were her, stuck here with that old geezer and on top of it all. Anna paused, ensuring no one could eavesdrop as she pulled Arya to a nearby rug and sat her down. Leaning in close, she whispered, The East Wing is closest to Agatha and her husband's house. When we arrived yesterday and discovered we'd been relocated, I was a bit uneasy about the suite arrangement. I found out I was on the same floor as Alex. His room was right next to mine. He tried to talk to me, but I needed time to process being stuck together. I escaped to the woods out back, and Alex followed. We argued, and I asked him to leave me alone, so he did. As I sat there, I overheard Agatha calling out to someone named Lillian. I have no idea who that was, but then I heard a man's voice scolding Agatha for neglecting their daughter. It struck me as odd, because, according to what I heard, they only married 3 years ago, and there's no mention of Agatha having a child. I considered it might be her husband's child from a previous relationship, or perhaps they adopted, but it's not public knowledge. While I pondered that, I heard a sharp cry as if Agatha had been hit. I was shocked. It sounded like he struck her multiple times. I contemplated intervening, but when I caught sight of them through the trees, I froze, Anna recounted, her eyes widening as she relived the experience. What stopped you? Aria inquired, her brow furrowed. He was... You know, Anna replied, her face flushing red. Understanding dawned in Aria's eyes. Oh, she murmured, mentally piecing it together. Anna nodded eagerly. So he's physically and sexually abusing her, Aria clarified in a hushed whisper. Anna nodded again. I wanted to confront him right then and there and slug the old bastard, but Alex returned and forcefully pulled me away, his hand clamped over my mouth to stop us from being discovered. I was ready to tear into him after what I witnessed, but once we returned to our lodge, Alex warned me not to interfere or Agatha would suffer. Turns out, he and Ethan witnessed that old bastard hitting Agatha and tried to intervene, but she ordered them to leave. Later, when they saw her from their room, she was wearing sunglasses and heavy makeup, Anna concluded, her voice filled with disbelief. Aria was stunned by the revelation. One could say it's karma, but I can't get that scene out of my head. It was just pitiful. She pleaded and pleaded. He just went on like a bloody animal. Seeing him standing in that hall looking all so gentlemanly and our school president referring to him as distinguished was nauseating to say the least, Anna concluded. I think you are not the only one who has reservations about our hosts, Aria replied in a quiet tone, not quite pleased with the information. It occurred to her that the supposed nose job might not be what everyone was thinking. She wrapped her arms around herself, pondering how lucky she was to have a man who loved her with such intensity that he would slay dragons for her instead of turning into one. She shut her eyes when she felt Nathaniel wrap his arms around her from the back to press a kiss to the corner of her lips as he bodily moved her to sit between his legs with her back resting against his front. You two are adorable, Anna sighed with a wistful smile as Alex and Ethan joined them. Nathaniel gestured for Andrew and Aidan to join them, and they brought bamboo chairs to sit behind Nathaniel and Aria. You all know she's bewitched me, Nathaniel quipped, eliciting chuckles from the other guys. How's married life, Nathaniel? For someone who wouldn't even consider having an official girlfriend back in school, this must be quite a leap, Alex inquired. Not at all. Being with Aria has always felt natural, and I'm just glad she came back to me, Nathaniel replied. How did that happen? Ethan asked. Last I heard, you two broke up, he added. He broke up with me, Aria interjected. Nathaniel chuckled, his rumble palpable against her back. What? I thought you broke up with him, Ethan exclaimed. Aria attempted to respond, but Nathaniel playfully covered her mouth with his hand, making her giggle as he clarified. She broke up with me. That's the truth, he insisted. Ethan and Alex laughed. Well, I'm just glad you guys are together and happy. That's the most important thing, Ethan said warmly. Nathaniel offered him a clenched fist for a fist bump. He and Ethan obliged. How's life in Dubai? Nathaniel inquired, enveloping Aria in a snug embrace as she nestled into his arms. Busy, and sometimes lonely. The cultural change can be challenging, Alex replied, stealing a glance at Anna, who quickly averted her gaze. As Ethan regaled them with tales of life outside the United States, Anna eyed the spread of seafood and remarked, It would be a shame to waste all this food. Agreed, Ethan concurred. Although Nathaniel seems intent on continuing the tradition of stuffing us before public gatherings, Nathaniel chuckled. Speaking of which, thanks for the lodge upgrade, bro. It's a great spot for a vacation. Ethan expressed his gratitude. Any time, man, Nathaniel replied. Well, seeing you all gathered here feels like déjà vu. Some things never change, a voice interrupted, drawing their attention. It was Jessica, Nathaniel's former flame. Unlike Agatha, she appeared unchanged, standing tall in her blonde glory, clad in a bodycon dress that hugged her model-like figure like a second skin. Hey, Jessica, Nathaniel greeted, which was echoed by Ethan and Alex. Anna forced a smile while Aria waved non-committally. Hey to you too, Nathaniel, Alex and Ethan. Jessica greeted them in return before turning to Anna with a false smile. Hello, Anna. I heard Alex dumped you, and you're still unmarried. At least Aria managed to snag Nate. Although how long that'll last remains to be seen, considering she is already getting heavy around the waist, Jessica delivered her jab. Anna paled while Ethan and Alex gawked at Jessica. Nathaniel's brows furrowed in annoyance. Aria didn't know whether to be offended or amused. The clueless woman had no idea she was pregnant. Jessica's comment hung in the air like a noxious cloud, eliciting a range of reactions from the group. Nathaniel felt a surge of indignation at her remark on behalf of Anna and Alex, and frustration at discovering yet another reason why Aria had chosen to avoid reunions. He tightened his hold around her in reassurance, and Aria only smiled in understanding. The last time they saw Jessica, Nathaniel had been a tad offhand with her, to the point that one might think they were mere acquaintances instead of old lovers. Nathaniel's treatment of her had been one of the things that unsettled her in her relationship with him. Back then, she couldn't understand how he could be so easily dismissive of someone he had been intimate with multiple times. She had feared she was going to become the next Jessica, or Agatha McCarthy, or any of those other girls she knew who Nathaniel had taken to bed. She didn't know then that some of his behavior stemmed from his fear of how she would react to seeing those girls with him. But now, knowing how much he loves her, she found there was nothing to be insecure about. Nathaniel Hawthorne was hers, her husband, the father of her children, and the love of her life. No bitter lashing out from his exes could erase what she now knew. She did, however, feel sorry for Jessica. No matter how many times Nathaniel rejected her, she kept coming back for more humiliation. Well, Jessica, it's lovely to see you haven't changed a bit. Still as tactful as ever, I see, Ethan remarked. Aria couldn't detect a hint of anger in his voice, just mere amusement and a condescending tone that evidently grated on Jessica as her smile faltered. When Alex spoke, his voice was laced with a hint of warning. Jessica, it's been a while. Perhaps you should catch up with someone who actually cares about your opinion before you just open your mouth like an uncultured bitch. Jessica shifted on her feet. Aria wondered what she was thinking, to believe she could just walk up to them and say whatever she liked, as if they were still on campus. You didn't think that through, did you? If I were you, I'd walk away at this point, Nathaniel quipped. Anna, who seemed to have finally regained some composure, said through gritted teeth, For your information, Alex did not dump me. Her voice broke as if she was about to burst into tears. But Alex interrupted. I actually plan to ask her to marry me, he said, pulling out a jewelry box and flipping it open, revealing a dazzling 5-carat diamond that sparkled under the warm glow of the fire and skylight. The diamond was set in a platinum band encrusted with smaller diamonds that caught the light from every angle. It was an exquisite engagement ring, a piece of undeniable opulence. Not that it's any of your business. Now run along like a viral dog to spread the news, he added, sounding quite vicious. Realizing she had crossed a line, Jessica gave a haughty toss of her hair, turned on her heel, and sauntered off, leaving behind a stunned silence. Anna gaped at Alex, her eyes misting over as she gave him a searching gaze. Alex shut the ring box, pocketed it, and moved closer to her. Please give us a chance, Anna, he pleaded, his voice low and gruff. Anna looked away and Alex threw the group an apologetic glance before reaching for her hand and interlacing his fingers with hers to lead her away. Once they were a considerable distance away, Ethan grumbled almost to himself. Nate's hitched, and now Alex is diving in too. No pressure on the rest of us. Nope, none at all. Man, I need a drink. Nathaniel and Aria burst out laughing. Ethan flipped his gaze in their direction and glared at them. You broke the code, man, and without any warning, he remarked, sounding a bit frustrated as he gestured at Nathaniel. Nathaniel chuckled, but his amusement quickly faded as he held Ethan's gaze. It was a tough time. A lot was happening, and I'm sorry I didn't tell you. And Alex, it's complicated, he said. Ethan's brow furrowed. Does this have anything to do with what you meant when you said the worst is over? He asked with concern. Nathaniel nodded. Ethan let out a sigh. Is it related to your health? He asked again. Nathaniel nodded. Don't you dare tell me you're dying, Nate, Ethan demanded, worry clear in his voice as he ran his fingers through his hair in evident dismay. I am not. Right now, thanks to Ariana. We'll talk more when we get back to the hotel, Nathaniel replied. Ethan's concerned gaze darted from him to Aria and then to Andrew, seeking reassurance. That's why you two are wearing masks, right? Ethan asked. Aria nodded. Ethan stood up. Let's head back then. Nothing much is happening here anyway, he remarked. We can't leave Alex and Anna, Ethan, Nathaniel replied, smiling at his friend. He had known Ethan would react this way and thought it best to wait until now to tell him, especially since it looked like he might be beating the cancer. Fuck yes, we can. Or better still, Ethan said, walking away from the sitting area. He cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled, Alex, Anna, get back here right now. His agitation was clear. Aria glanced at Nathaniel, who smiled at her before going to stand beside Ethan. I'm fine, bro. It's okay, Nathaniel said, his voice low and heavy with emotion. I'll be the judge of that after you give me the details. You should have called me, Nate. We're fucking brothers, man, Ethan replied. Nathaniel nodded, letting out a deep sigh as he slipped his hands into his pockets. I'm sorry, was all he could say in response. The two waited for Alex and Anna to come back. As if sensing the tension from afar, Alex's steps faltered as he approached. Still holding Anna's hand, he glanced between Nathaniel and Ethan before releasing Anna's hand and hurrying the rest of the way. He then turned to Nathaniel and Ethan and asked, What's wrong? Returning to the hotel, Aria gave Anna, Alex, and Ethan an apologetic look and said, There are disinfectant wipes and hypochlorous acid spray available at the back. We should use them for decontamination before we go inside. Please, it's important. Ethan began to pull off his suit jacket as he led the group toward the back. Do you have enough for all of us? Alex asked. Yes, we have plenty, Aria replied. Andrew and Aiden hurried ahead of the team to get the supplies, handing them out to each person. Hypochlorous acid spray is safe for skin and clothes and very effective against germs, Alex explained to Anna as he helped her spray it over her clothes and exposed skin. I'm sorry I'm putting you all through this. We need to minimize any risk of infection, Aria apologized again. It's okay, Aria, we understand, Ethan replied. It's beneficial for us too, considering who knows where everyone in that hall is coming from and what exotic germs they might be carrying, Anna added, attempting to alleviate Aria's concern. Aria threw her a grateful smile. Thank you, Anna, Nathaniel rasped, standing still as Andrew helped him to spray his clothes. A few minutes later, Andrew and Aiden ushered the team indoors. Upon reaching the lobby, they paused, spotting Liam and Anita belting out a song in the karaoke corner, while Owen engaged in a chess match with Jake. Father Lord, they're Nate's doppelgangers, Ethan exclaimed with glee, his face lighting up. They're absolutely precious, Anna exclaimed. Please introduce us, she insisted, her excitement palpable. Aria chuckled softly. Liam noticed them first and waved enthusiastically at his parents as he continued singing until the song ended. Charles lifted him off the stage, and he rushed over to his parents with Nathaniel bending down to meet him eye to eye. That was quite impressive, son, he praised. Liam gave him a scrutinizing look just as Aria ran her fingers through his hair. You're not just saying that, are you, Dad? Liam queried. Ethan chuckled, capturing Liam's attention. Liam glanced at the older man curiously, his eyes darting between him, Alex and Anna, who waved at him, beaming with smiles. Aria motioned for Owen, who hurried over to join them. Nathaniel enveloped Owen in a hug as he responded to Liam. No, I'm not just saying that. Now, I'd like you two to meet our friends from the university, Nathaniel said, stepping aside to allow Liam and Owen to stand before Alex, Ethan, and Anna. Pleasure to meet you, Mom. And sir, the two chimed in unison. Such gentlemen, Ethan remarked as he leaned forward to shake their hands, which they eagerly accepted. It's a pleasure meeting you, Liam, and you too, Owen. How's your chess match going, Owen? I couldn't help but notice your skill with the pieces, Ethan added. Owen shrugged. Uncle Jake is a tough opponent. We're still tied, but I'm determined to beat him, and I've made it clear that he shouldn't let me win, Owen responded. Ethan blinked in surprise at the articulate response from someone so young. How old are you? He inquired, prompting Alex to chuckle. I'm 5+, why do you ask? Owen replied, looking intrigued. Well, because you sound much older than your age, Ethan remarked with a smile. That's because we're smart, Liam interjected before Owen could respond. I'm sure you are. Did you know your dad is a literal genius? Alex inquired, extending a handshake to Liam and then to Owen. We know. He helps teach us alongside Mummy, Owen answered. Come here, you two, Anna exclaimed, pulling the boys into a warm hug. You're just too adorable for words. I could eat you up. Owen glanced worriedly at his mother, who giggled and reassured him. She means it figuratively, sweetheart. When Anna drew back from them and peppered kisses on their cheeks, Liam grinned while Owen looked slightly concerned, eliciting laughter from the group. Nathaniel proceeded to introduce the gang to the rest of the family, and they managed to slip away before getting roped into joining the games. Up in the suite, Aria had refreshments served, and everyone gathered around the living room to settle down. Is it cancer? Ethan inquired. Nathaniel observed him as he swirled the drink in his glass, a habitual gesture when he was anxious. Nathaniel nodded. Jesus, Ethan exclaimed, dropping his drink. Alex, seated beside Anna, also rose, spilling his drink in the process. How long has it been? Alex queried. What type of cancer? Anna asked tentatively, her voice laced with concern. It's bone marrow cancer, Nathaniel answered, noting Anna's struggle to contain her emotions. He glanced from her to Alex and then Ethan before continuing. About 2 years ago, or thereabouts, a few months or about a year after my parents passed away, I fell ill. Initially, I thought it was just the consequence of overworking myself, but it turned out to be bone marrow cancer. Our family doctor, Dr. William, immediately started me on treatment. It was horrendous, Nathaniel sighed. Following the treatment, I underwent a battery of tests, only to discover that instead of the cancer diminishing, it worsened. The symptoms were surreal. At one point, I had to come to terms with the fact that I might not make it. I resolved that if my time was up, I would prefer to be in the arms of the woman I love, he rasped. Aria rose and approached him, and he opened his arms, embracing her as she hugged him tightly, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. You all know how determined Aria can be, Nathaniel continued. She refused to let me give up. He then recounted how he learned about the boys and how they had contributed to his bone marrow transplant. Damn it, Nate, why didn't you call me? I would have rushed to get Ariana and we could have known about the twins sooner, Ethan lamented, pacing back and forth. How are the test results now? Alex inquired. Nate is now cancer-free, and his immunity is strong. However, you know how unpredictable this disease can be. We're closely monitoring him to ensure he remains cancer-free and safeguarded from any harmful germs that could jeopardize his health. We need to give it time to ensure his continued recovery, Aria explained. Are you trying out your new herbal immunity-boosting product? Ethan inquired. You're aware of that, Nathaniel responded, pleasantly surprised. Of course I keep tabs on your innovations. I'm not about to let you outshine me, Ethan replied with a grin. Nathaniel chuckled, pulling back from Aria to grab a throw pillow and toss it playfully at Ethan. Ethan laughed, dodging the pillow which fell to the floor. You're such an idiot, Nathaniel muttered with a smile. Admit it, you're a fan. Ethan raised an eyebrow. You wish, he retorted. Did the drug help, though? Alex asked, his voice tinged with concern as Anna stood beside him. Aria wouldn't let me try it yet. She believes we should wait at least a year before combining herbal remedies with my prescription, Nathaniel explained. Just being cautious, but I've read rave reviews about the product. I can't wait for him to give it a try. However, I want to ensure the effectiveness of his current medication before transitioning to herbal remedies, Aria added. Ethan moved closer, embracing Aria. Thank you, he whispered gratefully. Aria returned the hug before Nathaniel was drawn into the embrace. Alex and Anna joined, forming a tight group hug. After a moment, they separated, wiping away tears. I'd appreciate it if you didn't keep something this important from us again, Nate, please, Ethan urged. Nathaniel nodded, smiling as Aria intertwined her fingers with his. So are you two engaged now, or what? Ethan teased Alex and Anna. Caught off guard, they exchanged a surprised glance. Anna, he's head over heels for you. He couldn't stop talking about you all night. If you still love him, put him out of his misery, Ethan exclaimed. Dude, Alex protested, but Anna giggled, drawing Alex's attention. Holding out her hand, she awaited his response. After a brief hesitation, Alex retrieved the ring box, opened it, and slid the ring onto Anna's finger, looking from the ring to Aria for approval. Anna then threw herself into Alex's arms, embracing him tightly. "I've missed you so much," Alex whispered, his voice choked with emotion. Around 3 a.m., in the dead of night, Owen and Liam had drifted off to sleep on the pool table. Andrew and Charles carried the two and headed towards the elevator. Aidan, feeling a bit intoxicated, opted for a stroll to shake off his grogginess. As he was supposed to be on night watch, he couldn't afford to doze off. Taking a deep gulp of fresh air, he followed a trail into the woods, the same path Liam had taken earlier, until he arrived at the waterfall. Pausing to admire its silvery beauty under the grey moonlight, he decided to take a dip in hopes of staying awake. He shed his clothes, hung them on a nearby tree, and plunged into the cool depths of the stream. Swimming towards the point where the water cascaded into a basin-like bowl, he climbed in and reclined on his back, letting the water cascade over him. As he lay there enjoying the refreshing sensation, he heard the sound of footsteps. Pausing, he strained his ears to listen. A gasp followed by a scream pierced the air, causing Aidan to peer out, squinting to make out the shapes in the darkness. He thought he saw two shadowy figures, then only one. Blinking, he found the shadows had vanished. Shaking his head, he settled back into the water, his brow furrowed with uncertainty about what he had witnessed. Much later, feeling revitalized, Aidan emerged from the water and retrieved his clothes from the tree. As he prepared to head back to the hotel, he drew in a deep breath and noticed an unmistakable but subtle smell mingling with the fresh scent of grass and natural air. For someone who had spent most of his life perceiving such scents and then trying to escape the stench of it, Aidan knew exactly what it was. It was blood. Pausing to scan the woods, he saw another path intersecting with his own. Bringing out his phone, he turned on the flashlight, and right ahead of him, he could see signs of drops of blood staining the leaves and the dirt-filled ground. A frown creased his brow as he followed the trail, putting off his flashlight. Eventually, he heard a faint whimpering and the sound of a shovel striking gravel. Realizing that venturing further could expose him to whoever was there, Aidan chose to retreat, retracing his steps back to the hotel, his mind racing with questions and concerns. He hoped whatever that was had to do with a stray animal spooking a human and meeting an unfortunate end. Upon reaching the hotel, Aidan saw that Andrew, Jake, and Charles were the only ones left in the lobby. He crossed the room to join them, pulling out an empty chair and noting they had placed their guns on the table. "You went for a swim?" Charles teased, the sides of his eyes wrinkling with amusement. "You understand people drown when they are intoxicated and go swimming, right?" Andrew remarked. Aidan spread his arms wide as if to say, "Ta-da! I'm here, though." His eyes widened comically as he wiped off a stray drop of water from his temple. "I don't blame you. I've been thinking of indulging myself since I caught Liam swimming in the stream earlier," Jake chimed in. "What?" Andrew gasped in shock. "Yap, caught the little smart-ass sneaking out earlier when everyone was distracted. I almost didn't see him until he was just about to run out of the back door." "I'm not going to lie. It was pretty impressive," Jake said, laughing. Andrew's brows pulled together in a frown. "We have to keep an eye on that one," Charles said, chuckling. "Damn straight. I don't know if I was hallucinating, but I think I either just saw someone burying a body, or it's an innocent, explainable scene, and my head is messing with me," Aidan said. Everyone froze. "What?" Jake asked in disbelief. Charles and Andrew looked at Aidan with a mix of shock and disbelief. "The fuck did you just say?" Andrew echoed Jake's question. Aidan met their gazes and shrugged. "I'm sure it's nothing," he replied. "Okay, what did you see exactly, Aidan?" Charles asked. Aidan told them, and the three looked at him as if he had gone nuts. "And you just retreated?" Jake said as he got up. "Sit down, Jake," Aidan said in a calm, non-committal tone. Jake slowly sat down. "We are on an island, and we have 10 security details. Whatever we are going to go charging into, at least let us understand what it is first." I backed off because I wasn't sure what I saw. First thing in the morning, we will investigate. Meanwhile, I'm not going to let us charge in there without knowing what we are interfering in. I'm not endangering people's lives. Understand? Jake slowly nodded. "I can find my way back there. If there's a body like I think I saw, It's not going anywhere. I just need to wait 3 hours, Max, Aidan said. The others nodded with pensive frowns. Who do you think it could be? Charles asked. Someone burying a feral cat or mongoose, I hope, Aidan replied. About 2 hours later, the four heard the screeching of tires, followed by the slamming of a door. They got up to investigate. Jordan, who had joined them when he couldn't sleep, trailed behind. They went down a short flight of stairs to the demarcated section of the lobby used as a reception area, where the concierge office was with a front desk. The open entrance to the porch had been barred with an iron gate, and they saw the concierge trudging to the gate to open it. "Hey, stop!" Aidan yelled, startling the man to a standstill as he looked back. "What's going on?" Andrew asked as he saw 5 uniformed men disembark from a white van and a black jeep approach the gate. "There seems to be an emergency," the older man replied. "Stand back from the gate," Jake yelled at the older man. His brows furrowed in confusion as he quickly obeyed. Andrew approached the gate and stopped at a safe distance, waiting for the men to come closer. When they were about 8 inches away, Jake said, "That's close enough," while Aidan stood with his legs apart, making sure his gun was visible. The men hesitated in their steps. "What's going on?" Andrew asked them, quietly noting their tired appearance. Even from where he stood, he could smell that they reeked of vomit or something equally vile. A few of the guests seemed to have caught a bug or food poisoning. The hospital is filled with people getting sick, and the madam asked us to go around to get people who could chip in and help. We were told there's a doctor here and some scientists. Andrew raised his hand to shut the guy up and asked, "Tell me the symptoms." The men exchanged glances before one answered. "We don't really know, except everyone infected is retching like they're going to vomit their intestines, mister." "That. Okay, I'm going to need you to back off and remind your madam that the doctor in this building is a surgeon, not a diagnostic doctor, and the scientists are pharmacologists." The men looked bemused. "Man, they can still help, can't they? Aren't they medical personnel?" Another of the men retorted, "Look, I have children in this building and the doctor is pregnant. There's no way in hell we're letting her expose herself to that kind of environment. Go back to your madam and tell her Andrew, head of the Hawthorne security, sent you back." Andrew snapped. The guys looked angry, but realizing Andrew meant what he said and wasn't going to change his mind, they left. "Give me the keys to this gate," Jake demanded, addressing the concierge. The man hesitated, but Aidan brought out his gun non-threateningly. He just held it to his front, but the man got the message regardless and quickly handed the keys over. "Charles, I need you to follow me. Jake, you and Aidan and Jordan are going to man the entrances," Andrew said as he took out his gun and hurried to the back entrance. Jake quickly helped to open the gate as Andrew explained his plan. "I'm going to get Blackwood, Miss Anna, and Alexander to come over to this building before this gets out of hand." "And our staff in the other buildings?" Jake asked. "Yes, them too," Andrew promptly replied as he readied his weapon and led Charles out and to the other building, not far away. The concierge immediately opened the gate as Andrew pointed his gun at him when he hesitated. "Sorry, we are kind of in a hurry," Charles apologized to the man, and then they asked him to call everyone in the building to come down. Shortly after, the bemused Alex, Ethan, and Anna were in the lobby. "What's going on, Andrew?" Ethan asked with concern. "If there's an outbreak of something not yet confirmed, where would you rather be stuck, here or with the Hawthornes?" Andrew asked. Ethan's eyes widened, and without answering, he pulled his traveling bag along with Anna's as Alex helped with the rest, and they rushed to the building that housed the Hawthornes. Charles directed all the Hawthornes' staff to move, and for a few minutes, there was a flurry of activity as the group moved to one building. When they were done with that, they headed to the third building, ushering Miss Jonas and the others to the building housing the Hawthornes as well. When they were done, the lobby was filled with people. "Miss Jonas, could you please help with distributing everyone to the rooms we have?" Andrew ordered. The older woman nodded and got to work. "What now?" Jake asked afterward. "Let's investigate that gravedigger Aidan stumbled upon. I don't like this sudden outbreak of food poisoning or whatever it is in the wake of that," Andrew replied with worry. "Let me get the face masks," Charles said. "I will ask the old man if we can get shovels and flashlights. We might need them," Aidan replied and hurried away. A few minutes later, dressed in protective gear and carrying 3 shovels, they headed out with Jordan manning the rest of the team watching the building. He locked the gate as the 4 ventured out. Aiden led them through the woods to the path he had followed earlier while tracking the blood trail. He noticed that the trail of blood was gone now, and even with the masks, they could smell a pungent, chemical-like odor in the area. "You guys can smell that weird smell, or is it just me?" Aiden asked. "We can, Aiden," Andrew replied in a hushed tone. "It wasn't hallucinations after all," he muttered to himself. Jake pulled out his gun as they ventured deeper into the woods. When they reached the heavily dense area, they had to look carefully to find the patch of land that appeared to have leaves and branches deliberately used to cover a spot. Moving cautiously, they delicately cleared the leaves with shovels and excavated a section of soil. Upon a grain of sand brushing Andrew's boot, they observed with alarm as it sizzled like acid, emitting noxious fumes and vapors. The air was filled with foul odors akin to decomposing flesh or burning chemicals. It became evident that uncontaminated soil had been layered over the contaminated soil prior to the arrangement of leaves and branches on the land patch. "I don't think there's any need to investigate further." "There's a dead human in there," Jake said. "Yep," Aiden added with a sigh. Andrew slowly backed away, and they did their best to cover up the place, leaving it the way they found it. Heading back to the hotel, they made sure to wash up before entering the building. "Didn't that resort guy mention that his madam asked them to get Dr. Hawthorne?" Aiden asked, his tone calm and not suggestive of anything. "Yes," Andrew said. "So then she is not the one in the grave then," Aiden murmured to himself. "It was a smart move not to let those guys in," Jake remarked. "What course was it again that Ms. Agatha McCarthy studied at Harvard?" Aiden asked. "Chemical engineering," Andrew supplied. "Yeah, that's what I remembered too." Aiden sighed tiredly. "Are you going to wake the boss?" "This is getting weird," Charles added. "Nope." "We have prioritized the safety of those in this wing, especially since the exact nature of the outbreak is unknown. We'll ensure that potentially exposed individuals are kept away from here, and from vulnerable people like our dear pregnant doctor. Everyone has been consolidated into a secure area, and all are accounted for, managing the situation calmly and methodically. This prevents chaos and further spread of the illness if it's contagious. Our investigation into the gravedigger indicates a potential connection to the unusual activities coinciding with the outbreak, and understanding this link could be crucial to effectively handling the situation. There's no point in creating panic. Everyone is safe. Our priority is to maintain that safety," Andrew replied, in a firm, no-nonsense tone as he added bullets into his gun. The others imitated the act, getting the message loud and clear. "I'm going to go create a no-crossing zone," Aiden said and strolled away. 3 minutes later, armed with spray paint from their supplies, he ventured out through the back door, his gun tucked securely at the back of his waistband. Mentally estimating about 4 miles to the entrance of the building, he first sprayed the red paint marker, then continued further ahead to mark the path with white paint. Surveying his surroundings, he searched for suitable objects to use as a roadblock. Finding nothing but small stones, he returned to retrieve a machete and ventured into the woods to cut a large branch. Dragging it back to the road, he positioned it as a barrier. Standing sentinel, a surge of restlessness gripped him to his core. His gaze darted between the paved road and the path leading into the woods. Deciding to investigate further, he walked down the wooded path, intent on discovering the nearest dwellings to the east wing and identifying their occupants. About 3 hours later, Nathaniel woke up and could hear Aria and the boys in the adjoining section of the suite. He got out of bed, went into the bathroom to brush his teeth and bathe, then emerged wearing a bathrobe. As he walked to the kitchenette, the rich aroma of freshly made coffee, pancakes, bacon, sausages, and eggs filled the space. He went behind the small kitchen counter to pour himself some coffee, his eyes scanning the delicious spread of breakfast. As he sipped his coffee, he wondered when Aria had woken up and why she had decided to make a private breakfast. Picking up a pancake, he dipped the tip into a bowl of honey and bit into it as he walked to the side wall, made entirely of tempered glass. The first thing he saw was the serene view of the waterfall in the distance, surrounded by lush greenery that appeared to be meticulously planned and manicured, creating an Eden-like scene from his vantage point. He took a deep, calming breath, getting lost in the sight. He then heard the sound of his family approaching from the other adjoining suite. He was about to turn around with a ready smile when, from the corner of his eye, he noticed red and white spray paint on the asphalt road leading out from their wing. He slowly turned back to the window and looked to his right. Indeed, there were 2 lines drawn on the road, one white and one red. He could see 3 men wearing Hawthorne's guards' uniforms sitting on chairs facing the road, evidently manning it. He slowly put down his mug and pancake and hurried to his room to get his phone. "Baby," Aria called as she entered the room with the boys in tow. "What's wrong?" she asked with concern. "That's what I want to find out," Nathaniel replied. "Good morning, Daddy." Liam and Owen greeted him. "Hey, did you 2 sleep well?" Nathaniel asked automatically. "Uh-huh," they chorused and started to tell him about their fun night, but Aria placed a hand on their shoulders to stop them, sensing something was amiss. "Give me a second, boys. Then you can tell me all about it," Nathaniel said, giving them an apologetic smile. "Boss?" Andrew's voice sounded from the other end of the line, and Nathaniel met Aria's gaze, who quickly ushered the boys away. "Why don't we go have breakfast while your dad finishes his call?" Aria urged, shepherding the boys away. "Why do we have a roadblock?" Nathaniel asked. "I was going to wait for you to come downstairs, boss." "It's a lot to unravel," Andrew replied. "What? Don't tell me I brought my family to this reunion only to put everyone in danger," Nathaniel growled under his breath. "We've secured our end, but it's getting worse out there," Andrew explained. "Bloody hell, I'm coming down," Nathaniel replied and ended the call. Nathaniel hastily dressed and moved to leave, but Aria intercepted him, blocking his path. "Aren't you forgetting something?" she probed with a cocked eyebrow. Nathaniel peered into her eyes and said, "I think something bad is going on down there." Understanding his apprehension, Aria reassured him, "Andrew, Jake, Aiden, Charles, and Jordan are likely handling it with Tom and the others. They let you rest and didn't wake us, so I trust they've got it under control." "Now, darling," she said, linking her arm with his and guiding him to the kitchenette, "you need to have breakfast, take your medication, and let me take a blood sample for testing. Then you can join them." The corner of Nathaniel's lips tweaked in a smile. He couldn't deny that she was right. "All right. First things first, then," he rasped. She beamed at him. Looking into her eyes, he remembered he hadn't had the chance to tell her good morning. He stopped her before they reached the kitchenette, cupped her by the throat, captured her lips in a searing kiss, and whispered, "Good morning, my love." The gleam of happiness in her eyes was everything. Later on, with his mask securely fastened, he rode the elevator to the lobby and paused as he stepped out, scanning the assembled group. Everyone was there. His staff, Tom Hill, Miss Bella, Miss Everly, Ethan, Anna, and Alex. Although they all seemed occupied with various tasks, it struck him as odd that they were gathered in one place, and he wondered why Ethan and Alex hadn't notified him. Approaching him, Andrew, Jake, and Aiden formed a barrier, offering their greetings and wishing him a good morning. Nathaniel nodded in acknowledgement. "What did I miss?" he inquired. Andrew motioned for him to follow, and Nathaniel complied as they made their way to the reception area and entered the concierge office. The man was eating when they entered, pausing to greet Nathaniel and quickly vacating the office to give them privacy. Alone now, Andrew briefed Nathaniel on the day's events. Nathaniel slowly perched on the edge of the table, listening intently. "Have you identified the person buried?" he asked, sounding concerned. "We investigated and discovered that Mrs. Agatha Caldwell was being abused by her husband, so we suspected it might be him. However, Aiden found out Mr. Caldwell is alive, although barely," Andrew explained. "His daughter and Mrs. Caldwell appear to be the only ones in their household who aren't sick," Aiden added. "Then who is in the grave?" Nathaniel inquired further. "I spotted a woman with the Caldwell girl earlier. She could be the nanny." Aiden didn't see anyone matching her description in their house, Jake supplied. "So it could be the nanny?" Nathaniel speculated. Jake shrugged. "Until we account for everyone at the reunion, that's our working theory. Thank you for containing the situation. We need to ensure those affected receive help. and those unaffected remain safe. Nathaniel responded. We have a list of those affected, and you don't need to worry about the school president and officials. They are unaffected and are in isolation in their wing, Andrew informed, handing Nathaniel a paper. Nathaniel was impressed by the thoroughness of the investigation conducted by his team, though he acknowledged that such meticulousness was to be expected from individuals with a background in military service, where attention to detail was a defining characteristic. However, when Nathaniel saw the list of affected people, he slowly stood up. The first on the list was Jessica. Shit, Nathaniel muttered. Yep. My first reaction exactly, Andrew said. Interesting to note, in the last 1 hour, Mrs. Caldwell dispatched 3 distinct groups to persuade Dr. Hawthorne to visit their hospital, Charles remarked. The third set was why we had our men manning the no-crossing zone. They got desperate, Jake added. What the hell is this? Nathaniel mused aloud, even though he could already tell. Looks like Mrs. Caldwell is using this reunion to settle scores, Aidan remarked. And I don't think her husband would make it, he added, his voice tinged with grave conviction. The only piece on her chessboard that we didn't allow her to move is Dr. Hawthorne. Now she is desperate for someone to blame for the outbreak, Andrew added. Oh, and they tried coming for Miss Anna, too, Jake supplied. Nathaniel looked from one to the other before saying, What do we do? Earlier on, Aria woke up craving warm pancakes layered with strawberries, drizzled with honey, diced sausages, freshly picked cherry tomatoes, and pickles, all topped with another layer of pancakes. She envisioned it served with a cup of Greek yogurt mixed with berries, kale, and cashew nuts. The mere thought made her slip out of Nathaniel's arms and hurry into the kitchenette. Opening the refrigerator, she grinned with glee at finding all she needed. She got to work brewing coffee for the aroma and for anyone who might want some, then making batches of delicious pancakes, mixing eggs with milk to make an omelette. She took out a pack of strawberries, washed them, and dipped each one into frozen honey, lining them up on a flat plate with a delighted smile. About an hour and a half later, she was done, and the table was laden with an array of impulsive dishes. She giggled to herself as she left the food to cool and padded to the bathroom to freshen up. Emerging a few minutes later with a towel wrapped around her wet hair, she returned to the kitchen to prepare the layered pancakes just as she had imagined. She bit into the delicious creation, giggling at her silliness, savoring the sweet, succulent taste with her eyes closed, unknowingly making pleasure-filled sounds as she devoured it with the yogurt. When she finally opened her eyes, she saw 2 pairs of grey eyes staring at her with bemusement. She laughed quietly, covering her mouth as she chewed, then gingerly waved to the 2. Hi, she said. What are you eating? Owen asked. In that his judgmental tone he seemed to be mastering so well, with that haughty lift of his eyebrows that always made her laugh at how grown-up he sounded and looked. He was like a miniature version of his father, mimicking his gestures like a mini clone. Pancakes, she replied. Can we have some, please? Asked Liam, her adventurous boy. But with the regular toppings for me, thank you very much, Owen added with great emphasis on the word but. Aria playfully tapped the tip of his nose, making him giggle. To Liam, she said, Of course, my knight, and winked. Liam beamed at her, then she added, But let's go brush our teeth first, shall we? Making the 2 groan, she chuckled, getting up to clean her hands before shepherding them toward their room. Mom, what kind of sickness makes someone's skin pale? Liam asked after brushing his teeth. Aria gave him a curious smile, wondering where the question came from. Different illnesses can cause pale skin, but it's often due to lack of sun exposure rather than sickness, she explained, then added, though it can also be a sign of health issues like anemia or low blood pressure. Why do you ask? He shrugged. I'm just naturally curious. You know, curious about things. And I happened to see a girl who was extremely pale, so I was just pondering about it, that's all, he replied vaguely, sidestepping any mention of his woodland adventures or where he had spotted the girl. Aria nodded, sensing there might be more to his question, but she decided not to push. All right, well, it's good to be curious and want to learn. Just remember, if you ever have any questions or if something's bothering you, you can always talk to me, okay? Liam nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. Okay, Mom. And I guess I'll know more when I become a doctor, he replied thoughtfully. Aria beamed at him, running her fingers through his hair and feeling a surge of pride. Although she knew he was too young to decide on a career just yet, she was glad he was already thinking about following in her footsteps. "I'm going to help Daddy, so I'll be like him," Owen chimed in. Arya chuckled and drew him into a hug. That wasn't a surprise at all. "Honey," she began, placing her hands on his shoulders to look into his eyes. "You don't have to follow in your father's footsteps if you don't want to, all right? You should always follow your heart and choose a career you love. Not just because you want to help your dad, okay, my love? But if Liam wants to be a doctor, one of us has to help Dad," Owen said. "I can still help, Owen, right, Mum?" Liam interjected. "Of course, but the two of you must note that you don't have to do anything unless you want to, and you're both too young to fret about this, all right?" Arya reassured them. They nodded, and she enveloped them in a hug. "I'm pleased to see you both considering helping your dad and me. It shows we're on the right track. Love you both so much," Arya said. "Love you too, Mommy," they echoed. Leaving the children's suite, Arya was surprised to see Nathaniel hurrying across the room, his brows furrowed in concern. Sensing that something serious was happening, she wasn't about to let him face it on an empty stomach, or without taking his medication and undergoing his weekly test. The suspense of the weekly test always left her on edge, which was why she had come to the island fully prepared and wasn't about to let her efforts go to waste. She was glad she was able to persuade him to eat and managed to take his blood samples before he left. With Nathaniel gone and the boys still eating breakfast, she made her way to the laundry room, where Nathaniel's men had helped set up a small mobile lab. The ImmunoGuard 5000, a sleek, state-of-the-art machine, was nestled in the corner of the compact room. She had purchased it and kept it at the house so she could test Nathaniel's blood instead of him having to go to Dr. William every week, knowing he despised it. Carefully inserting the blood samples into the ImmunoGuard 5000, Arya anxiously awaited the results, her heart pounding with both hope and apprehension. As the machine hummed to life, she silently prayed for good news, knowing that every test brought them one step closer to victory over the disease that had threatened their family. Unable to resist, she briefly checked on the boys at the kitchenette entrance, still blissfully munching on their breakfast and chatting about their game scores, oblivious to the silent battle their parents fought every day. For a few minutes, she alternated between checking the machine and keeping an eye on the boys. After what seemed like an eternity, the ImmunoGuard 5000 finally displayed the results. Arya's heart skipped a beat as she anxiously scanned the screen, her fingers trembling slightly. Result: negative for cancer markers, immune system strength optimal, no indications of infection, blood parameters within normal range. Letting out a sigh of relief, Arya closed her eyes briefly to contain her emotions, but tears still threatened behind her eyelids. Opening her eyes, she wiped away her tears and swiftly recorded the results on her medical notepad. Then she switched off the ImmunoGuard 5000 and began tidying up the makeshift lab. By the time she finished cleaning and returned to the kitchen, she found the boys at the sink. Owen was washing the dishes and Liam was drying them, both standing on a short stool they had pulled over. Arya paused by the door, choosing not to interrupt as they worked together chatting about a video game. The sight, combined with the test results, made her a bit emotional. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she quickly wiped them away before sending a chat message to Tom and Dr. Williams, informing them that Nathaniel was still progressing. Dr. Williams replied immediately, acknowledging the results and expressing gratitude to Arya for her diligence. They exchanged pleasantries, and then the older man inquired about Nathaniel's heart and whether he had shown any signs of deterioration. Arya reassured him, saying there were no signs of distress. He thanked her again and suggested scheduling an ECG test in the near future. Arya agreed, hoping there would never be a need for it and that her husband would continue to show signs of good health. The boys noticed her standing by the entrance, typing into her phone, and called out, "Mom, see? We've done the dishes." Owen announced. "I can see that, my knights. Thank you for being helpful," she replied. They beamed proudly at her. She chuckled and was about to put her phone down on the island table when she saw a notification that she had been added to 2 chat groups. One was started by Anna. She smiled at seeing her name, recalling Anna's unexpected engagement the previous night. and the gang's emotional reunion. The thought of the engagement sparked an idea. Perhaps they could combine Anita's engagement party with Anna's and organize a joint engagement dinner with fun activities for adults. The idea made her bite her lower lip, a mischievous gleam brightening her eyes. "Mom," Owen called, and Aria quickly went over to help them down from the stool, pressing kisses into their hair. "Let's dress up and join your daddy and the others in the lobby," Aria said. The boys ran out of the kitchenette toward their suite, and Aria trailed behind, frustrated by the barrage of messages flooding her phone from the chat groups. With furrowed brows, she opened the larger group chat and discovered it included everyone at the reunion. There was panicked talk about death. Or had someone died? Aria paused and carefully read through a few messages, trying to make sense of the flood of crying and sad emojis. Then someone typed, "Let's not forget that the occupants of the East Wing thought they were too important to help, and now 2 of ours are dead." Aria frowned. Weren't they in the East Wing? And what the hell did she mean about people dying? She thought, just before another person replied, "Nice try, minions. Instead of calling out your queen bee for luring us into a death trap, you try to blame us. This is not our resort. We are guests here too, and had no idea what was happening." Ugh, Aria instantly recognized that the person who responded was Anna. "You can't deny that Nathaniel Hawthorne, Alexander, Ethan, you, and Everly could have helped, but you chose to stay locked down with your security creating roadblocks." Another person typed, "Exactly. They acted like they were too good to get their hands dirty, and now look at the mess we're in." Yet another person added, "They created roadblocks while we were all sleeping. They are guards. It's their job to contain chaos and prevent it from getting out of hand. They are even briefing Nate right now. So again, don't point fingers when you don't have all the information. And remember, this is not our property." Anna replied, "Your so-called security just stood by while people got hurt. This could have been avoided if you'd been more involved." Someone with the name Betsy 2000 responded, "Exactly, you hid behind your guards and left us to deal with the mess. And now we've lost 2 of our own because of your negligence." Another message popped up. "Seriously, you all acted like you were better than us, and now look what happened. Where was your help when we needed it?" Another message appeared. Aria's eyes darted through the chat messages, trying to catch up, but she still couldn't grasp exactly what was happening or who had died. Her anxiety mounted. "Mom," Liam called, catching Aria's attention, and she looked up to see they had both changed into matching raglan sleeve shirts and blue jeans. "Great choice, babies. Let me find something to wear too," Aria said, quickly dropping her phone to change into something practical before ushering the children down the stairs, wondering what the heck was going on. When they reached the lobby, her eyes widened upon seeing that everyone was there, including Ethan, Alexander, and Anna. Nathaniel stood by the back porch with his men, and Anna waved her over. Ethan and Alexander got up upon seeing her and the boys and smiled at them. Just as they took 2 steps, the sound of gunshots tore through the serene ambience. Aria's heart lunged hard against the wall of her chest, and she instinctively crouched low, wrapping her arms around her sons. There was a moment of utter stunned silence before Andrew yelled, "Everyone, get to the floor above, now!" Aria could hear her heart pounding in her ears. Liam and Owen clung tightly to her as Miss Jonas tried to maintain some semblance of order as she directed the staff to take the emergency stairs to the 1st floor. "Quick," she urged, her voice filled with worry and urgency. The sound of gunfire persisted, blending with hurried footsteps and an eerie silence, heightening the sense of terror. Nathaniel raced to his family just as Tom Hill ushered Bella and Miss Everly towards them. Miss Everly and Anita wanted to stop to help with the boys, but Nathaniel beat them to it. He wrapped his arms around Aria and whispered, "I'm here, baby," before lifting the boys and shepherding Aria, Miss Everly and Anita to the elevator. Anna joined them, along with Alexander, Ethan, Tom Hill, and Bella. As the elevator ascended, Nathaniel prayed it wouldn't stop. He breathed a sigh of relief when the elevator chimed and the doors slid open at the top floor. Nathaniel, still carrying the boys, led the group to their suite. "We should be safe here, and please stay away from the glass walls," Nathaniel announced, as Miss Everly and Anita took charge. He then took Liam and Owen to their room, with Aria following closely. Nathaniel sat on the bed holding the boys as they clung to him. "You are safe, boys, I promise," Nathaniel whispered into their hair. "Why were they shooting, Daddy?" Owen asked, his voice trembling. Nathaniel clenched his jaw and tightened his arms around them, hating that Agatha was dragging his family into her sick scheming. "People are just scared. When people are scared, they do crazy things," Nathaniel replied, looking up at Aria with a searching gaze. "Are you okay, baby?" he asked. She nodded, and he sighed in relief. When he tried to draw away from the boys, they didn't want to let him go. But with Aria's help, they managed to convince the boys to use their headphones to block out the noise and play video games, although up in their suite the gunshot sounds weren't as audible. Aria pulled Nathaniel aside and asked, "What's going on?" Nathaniel cupped her face, looking into her eyes. "People are getting sick from something they've either ingested or inhaled, and the hospital is overwhelmed," he explained. Aria's brows furrowed. "So they don't know what it is?" she asked, her heart racing at the revelation. "Yeah," Nathaniel replied, his voice trailing off as he shrugged, but Aria could tell he was being evasive. "Why are we being blamed for not helping?" "And why aren't we helping?" Aria asked, giving him a searching look. He sighed, glanced at the boys who were now playing video games, and then led Aria to the adjacent suite. "We suspect the outbreak is a cover-up. Agatha's husband is dead, supposedly one of the victims," Nathaniel said, pausing to let the information sink in. Aria stared at him in disbelief. "Oh my God, do you know he was abusing her?" Aria asked, in a fervent whisper. Nathaniel nodded. "Perfect crime, right? Jessica is dead too," he added. "What?" Aria gasped, stunned. "And Mirinda," he continued. "Jesus," she said in a shaky whisper. "And Alan Gregory," Nathaniel added, watching her closely as if waiting for her to make the connection. It took a moment before the realization hit Aria. Jessica and Mirinda were two of Nathaniel's exes, and he had been with them at the same time he was with Agatha McCarthy, and the three had a significant rivalry. Perhaps Jessica and Mirinda had done something in particular to Agatha that warranted payback. Additionally, Alan Gregory had physically assaulted Agatha when the two had bullied Aria at the school cafe and tried to record her with Alan Gregory. "Oh my God," Aria exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper. "You understand it would seem very suspicious if only Mr. Caldwell died of the supposed outbreak," Nathaniel supplied. "She must be desperate," Aria murmured, still feeling dazed at the whole mess. "Uh-huh. Earlier, Agatha sent her people to get you to help. Andrew sent them back, but they kept returning. The gunshots you heard were from Aiden. He's been trying to scare them off, but they keep coming back." "It's surreal," he explained. "You think she has plans for me too?" Aria asked with concern. "Yes. That's why none of us are leaving this wing. And it should interest you that they tried coming for Anna too, then Ethan, and, conveniently, all our cell phones are using their satellite, cutting us off from the outside world," Nathaniel explained. "Baby, this is serious," Aria replied, her concern etched on her face. "I know, but we have our own satellite phones. I've called for getaway yachts. We will be out of here by evening." "We just need to make sure they don't find out," Nathaniel assured her. Aria's eyebrows pulled together in a frown. "We can't just leave everyone behind, Nathan. She's already making people think we're keeping off because we feel too important to help," Aria replied worriedly in agitation. "Don't worry about that. It's all a distraction, and we won't be leaving everyone behind. They just won't be getting onto our yacht. When it's time to leave, I'll alert the others about where to meet us. Andrew is on the top of it. And please log off their satellite. They can use it to monitor our location. I've asked Anna to do the same and to stop engaging them in any banter." "It's best we ignore them so they don't know what we're up to," Nathaniel replied. "This is crazy," Aria said. What a reunion, eh?" he quipped. "How does she hope for the resort to survive after this? This place will be destroyed, buried in debt, and people will sue," Aria remarked. "Tom said she could blame it all on her dead husband's negligence. She might already have legal documents prepared or allies in the media to support her story. Rebranding and selling the resort for scrap could be her way out, especially if she's been facing financial troubles for a while. She might even have offshore accounts or investments lined up to cushion the financial blow. Whatever her endgame, it seems she's prepared to leave this place behind and start fresh, regardless of the chaos she leaves in her wake, Nathaniel replied, leaving out their suspicion that she may have also killed her stepdaughter's nanny. Meanwhile, downstairs, as everyone scrambled to safety, Andrew waited for the lobby to empty. Then he strode to the elevator and rode it to the first floor. He ran down the emergency stairway to lock and barricade the first iron door, ensuring it would hold for a while before it could be broken. He returned to the lobby via the elevator and smashed the control buttons, ensuring the people upstairs were stuck unless they took the stairs. No one would be able to ride the elevator up or take the emergency stairs. He then hurried outside to check on the team manning the back of the building, making sure they were still standing sentinel before joining Aiden's team up front. "What did I miss?" Andrew said as he joined the group. They stood like a human shield, side by side, holding their guns. "Something isn't right," Jake said, watching the way the resort guards trudged about in the distance. "You think? Look at the way they are walking, as if they have no mind of their own," Charles replied. "How long will it take for our getaway to get here again?" Aiden asked, his voice low and tense. Andrew checked his watch. 7 hours max. "Why?" he responded. "This might get volatile, and scaring them off won't cut it." Aiden replied. "Their numbers have risen significantly." As soon as the words left his mouth, Jake saw 2 trucks approaching, with men dressed in pirate gear and armed with matching guns. Jake exchanged a glance with Aiden, who grinned. Jake chuckled. "Fucking madman," he muttered to himself as they took cover. "You must admit pirates invading the island is a good cover-up," Aiden replied. "God, I miss home so badly right now," Andrew grumbled. Then he said, "Please, let's try not to shoot to kill. Catching a few of them might help with evidence," he urged. "Boo," Aiden retorted, making the others laugh. The 5 waited in tense silence for the trucks to get closer. Aiden could hear his heartbeat picking up speed as the trucks got closer. Taking a deep, calming breath, he prepared to shoot the tires. When the trucks were about 3 miles away, Aiden noticed a drum at the back of the leading truck labeled "Hazardous." Jake and Andrew seemed to have seen it too, because Jake immediately took a shot at the driver while Andrew targeted the one in the passenger seat. Aiden aimed at the driver of the truck behind, and Jordan and Charles targeted the tires. Andrew left his hiding spot and dashed through the woods to get a clear shot at the drum. He fired, and the truck erupted in flames. The contents of the drum spilled, igniting the occupants. Without pausing, Andrew retreated to a safe distance. Aiden and Jake handled the lead truck, and a loud explosion followed. The group ducked for cover. Agonizing screams filled the air as the burning men ran frantically towards the beach. Those who had jumped before the explosion were writhing on the ground in pain. The area reeked of chemicals and burning flesh. Jake watched in horror as the resort guards, who had been scared off earlier, now headed towards the fire, gradually picking up speed and coming towards them and their building. Aiden was the first to take one down, hitting a man in the shoulder. "Dude, you can't shoot them, just warn them off," Charles yelled. "That was a warning shot," Aiden calmly replied, firing again and aiming for the kneecaps. When the others saw that shooting a few of the incoming hordes didn't make a difference, instead the men kept advancing. They joined in, but then Jake ran ahead towards the men, causing the others to halt their actions in surprise. "Jake, what the hell?" Andrew yelled after him, but Jake didn't stop. The others decided to help him hold off the men, making certain to keep them away from Jake, and thus creating a path for him. Then Jake tackled 2 guards, knocking the 2 out one after the other before cuffing them by the ankles. With the others still keeping the rest at bay, Jake began dragging the guards back, indifferent to the rough surface scraping their backs. At the back of the building, Jordan heard the sound of running feet coming from the woods and exchanged a puzzled glance with a Hawthorne guard next to him. "What the fuck is that?" one of them asked in a bewildered tone as they saw shadowy figures rushing through the woods towards them from a distance. "The fuck?" Jordan cursed under his breath in disbelief. "What are these people?" Another of the Hawthorne security personnel interjected with evident confusion. Are we still supposed to be scaring them off, Andrew? Because we're about to be overrun," Jordan yelled loud enough for the others to hear. Andrew jogged to join them, seeing the approaching hordes of men, and cursed loudly. "This is bad," another man muttered in utter dismay. "Time to retreat," Andrew yelled. "We need cover. There's a bunch of them coming through the woods," he bellowed. The first few to emerge from the woods, rushing towards Andrew and the others, were shot to slow them down, but they kept coming. "The fuck?" Jordan cursed in amazement. "They're like freaking zombies, man," another chimed in. Meanwhile, Nathaniel, Tom, Alex, and Ethan watched from the glass wall on the top floor. From their vantage point, they could see more of the resort guards, or whoever the men were, coming towards their building. At this point, they couldn't tell if these were Agatha's guards or hired men. It was surreal. Nathaniel doubted any paid guards would be this dedicated, disregarding their safety. And for what? "How do we stop this? This bitch has gone insane," Ethan muttered in disbelief. Nathaniel's fists clenched by his side, thinking if Agatha's nonsense caused harm to his men, he would not spare her. Meanwhile, he could see that Andrew and the others had no idea what they were dealing with just yet, and needed them to know there was another group coming through the woods. The resort men's mission might not be clear, but the chemicals his men blew up somewhat showed that Agatha was prepared to do them harm and wasn't backing down. He threw Tom a side glance, and the older man let out a sigh. "This was supposed to be a damn vacation," he grumbled as he left the window to engage the women in conversation, especially to distract Aria. Nathaniel moved, and Ethan and Alex followed. The three strode into Nathaniel's suite, and he went to where they stored their supplies to hand over masks, gloves, and protective gear to his friends. He then took out his gun, tucked it in the back of his waistband, and left the suite. Upon reaching the elevator, they saw it wasn't working. Using the stairs, they found it barricaded. "What do we do?" Alex asked. "Andrew obviously doesn't want us interfering, and I can't call them in the middle of combat," Nathaniel mused aloud as he contemplated removing the barricade. "Hold on, with those mindless hordes heading this way, they might have done this to keep them out," Ethan said. "If that happens, Ethan, that means our defense is gone," Nathaniel said, giving him a leveled gaze. Ethan slowly nodded. "Got it," he muttered apologetically. Nathaniel decided on a different approach and led the two back to the first floor, where they had a clear view of the woods through the side glass wall, providing a better vantage point than his men had. Observing for a minute, Nathaniel said, "Give me a sec," and rushed back to the suite. He recalled that Andrew always packed a bag of weapons for emergencies for him and hoped he had done the same this time. Entering the walk-in closet, he quickly searched for it. Finding nothing, he checked his side of the wardrobe and discovered a black military-patterned backpack tucked in a corner. A smile spread across his face as he lifted it and returned to the first floor. Ethan whistled when he saw the contents of the bag. "You're like Tony Stark right now," he teased. Alex chuckled. Nathaniel quickly brought out 4 clip-on high-tech explosives. Skillfully attaching them to the 4 corners of the center pane of the glass wall, he stepped back and motioned for his friends to do the same. At a safe distance, they waited as the timer counted down and the devices exploded. The sound of cracking and shattering glass filled the room, and when the smoke cleared, a gash was visible in the center of the glass wall. "Impressive," Alex gushed. Ethan chuckled. Nathaniel hurried ahead, saw that the guards were almost upon his men, and asked, "How far can you two throw?" Ethan and Alex grinned as they accepted the explosive devices Nathaniel handed them. On the count of 3, they each threw one in the direction of the invading horde. The first throw didn't go too far, but it was a good start. Nathaniel saw Andrew look up and grin. "Oh, he's like a proud brother bear," Ethan teased as they continued to throw the explosives, creating a burning barrier between their men and the invading guards. "That will only slow them down. We need to put an end to this. What is wrong with Agatha?" Alex retorted. Meanwhile, upstairs in the suite, Aria noticed that Nathaniel, Ethan, and Alex were no longer standing by the glass wall. She immediately understood why Tom Hill had suddenly started talking about Nathaniel's medical report. She arched an eyebrow at him as if to say, "Seriously?" Tom let out a defeated sigh. "You know how he gets," he replied. "He better not have gone to the ground floor," she grumbled as she went to the glass wall, peering out and gasping at the sight below. Anna came to stand by her side, followed by Tom Hill, Bella, Miss Everly, and Anita. It's like Star Wars down there. Cool, Liam said, drawing everyone's attention. They gaped at him. Holy! Anita cursed as she scooped him up, carrying him back inside. But Aunt Anita, I want to watch too, he protested. Young man, don't even... she retorted, her voice trailing off as she disappeared into the inner rooms. Aria threw Anna a worried glance. What can we do to stop this? She asked, her voice filled with concern. According to the group chats, no one has seen Agatha, but I'm pretty sure she would be reading the chat messages. She was desperate to get you and me to come to their hospital. What if we use that to lure her out and see exactly what she wants? Anna suggested. I hope the two of you realize that this woman is clearly unstable and you, Aria, are pregnant. Miss Everly scolded, her arms folded over her chest. Your aunt is right. Whatever plan you want to hatch, you have to remember that Andrew and the others are down there, busting their asses to keep us all safe. Let's not jeopardize that, Tom Hill added, his brows furrowed. Aria's gaze darted from her aunt to Tom and then to Anna. With furrowed brows, she said, You mentioned the chat. Are you still logged on? Anna's face showed guilt as she lowered her gaze, then raised it to meet Aria's eyes again. I just wanted to keep tabs on what was happening. Sorry, she said. Aria replied with a pensive stare. Don't be. Why don't you send a message in there telling everyone you and I are heading to the hospital and that Agatha had better be there because we're tired of her slandering? Aria directed. What? Tom and Miss Everly exclaimed in disbelief. Are you serious? Tom retorted. Aria grinned at him. Damn serious, she replied. When they conveyed the plan to Andrew, he couldn't believe his ears, but he did agree it was a brilliant one. If they could draw Agatha out from wherever she was and contain her, perhaps her army of minions would stop giving them a break. Is the boss aware of this plan? Andrew inquired in a tense tone. Nope, and we have to keep it that way, Aria replied over the satellite phone Tom Hill had lent her. I don't know about this, Andrew mumbled disapprovingly. A few minutes later, with Aidan and Jake pulled out of the front line to man the plan, the group found a way to venture into the woods without being detected, heading to the resort hospital via the pathway from Agatha's house. Upon getting in front of her building, they made enough noise to ensure she knew they were heading to the hospital as planned. Once they reached the hospital, they entered from the back. Aidan quickly noticed it wasn't as crowded as it had been when he came to get the list of the affected attendees. Walking down the hallway, they saw the sidewalks lined with covered bodies, and there were more than 4. Curious, Jake pulled the sheet away from one and saw it was Agatha Caldwell's husband. He had turned stone cold and white, his face having a purplish tint with streaks of dried blood on his nose, the corners of his eyes and mouth, indicating he was poisoned. He checked the second body, and although it appeared lifeless, the coloring was different from Caldwell's. Jake frowned as he touched his gloved hand to the neck, and, surprisingly, felt a pulse. What the hell? He muttered, drawing the other's attention. What? Aidan asked. This is Jessica, and I don't think she's dead, Jake replied with a bemused frown. What? Aidan repeated in disbelief. He quickly came back to check. They then all fanned out to examine the rest of the bodies and discovered they were all still alive but appeared death-like, except for Mr. Caldwell. The sound of the hallway door locking alerted them, and they looked in that direction. A voice boomed from a speaker filling the hallway. It was Agatha. Well, like the drama queens you two are, Everly and Anna, you just had to take a whole damn day to do as you were told. Anyway, now that you're here, we can finally end this tragic day. The voice boomed with absolute disdain. If only someone had envisioned this happening, Aidan muttered sarcastically as the hiss of gas leaking into the hallway started to create a cloudy haze. A collective curse echoed through the empty space. Back in the East Wing, with the men still battling the guards and Nathaniel and his friends providing arsenal backup from the first floor, it took a while for Nathaniel to realize that Aidan, Jake, and 3 others of his men were missing from the defensive lineup. Pausing to do a head count, his pulse quickened when he couldn't spot the 5 anywhere. Without a satellite phone, he tried to get Andrew's attention. When that failed, he turned to Ethan and Alex and asked, "Can you guys manage without me for like 5 minutes?" Ethan's brows furrowed. "Why? You're not thinking of joining them downstairs, are you?" he replied. "No, I just need to check something quickly," Nathaniel said. "Sure," Alex responded. He had switched to a sniper rifle and had turned the defense into his own personal war game. "All right," Nathaniel said, rushing away. For some reason, he paused on the staircase to take out his phone and log into the chat group the resort had created for the Harvard alumni. He had been added earlier and had blocked the group once he realized what it could be used for. Curious about the current situation, he read through the messages and grew increasingly angry at the comments against him, Aria, and his friends. Then his eyes settled on a particular message that seemed to be causing more outrage. His steps faltered as his heart pounded against his chest at the message sent by Anna Lex Forever. "No, no, no," Nathaniel growled, a torrent of emotions rushing through him as he raced up the staircase. Aria and Anna had gone to meet Agatha McCarthy. That would explain why 5 of his men were missing. "Jesus, no, no, no," Nathaniel muttered repeatedly as he ran down the hallway toward their suite. Pushing the door open, he startled everyone inside as he burst in. They all turned from the glass window to look at him in agitation. With chest heaving and heart pounding loudly in his ears, he darted his eyes from Miss Everly to Tom Hill. Where is she? Where the fuck is my wife?" he growled. Meanwhile, at the resort hospital, Erden signals everyone to activate the oxygen in their masks. Jake carried Jessica, draping her over his shoulder, while Aiden did the same with Mirinda. Will, John, and Lewis, the 3 other Hawthorne guards, quickly assessed the bodies to see who they could carry. Their gazes settled on Alan Gregory, and they realized carrying a man of his size to safety quickly enough would be challenging. "Hurry!" Aiden urged, prompting the 3 to pick 3 random people from the lineup. With the possibility that Agatha might be watching them, they ran towards the front exit, hearing manic laughter echoing in the hallway. "There's nowhere to go. Why fight it? In a few more seconds, you'll be oblivious to what I'm going to do to you. I promise none of you will be found." Agatha's voice rang loudly through the corridor. Aiden wondered if she could see them, then remembered they weren't wearing regular masks. Although designed to look like ordinary ones, these were high-tech masks created by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and for the millionth time, Aiden was grateful he was always on Nathaniel's side. He led the team to the laundry room and, without pausing, threw Jessica's lifeless body down the laundry chute, knowing it led straight out to the back of the building, where a large laundry tank was placed to catch dirty laundry. Stepping aside, he let the others do the same before they ran back to get more people. Once they were sure they had gotten everyone, they dragged Alan Gregory to the laundry chute and left him beside it. Jake quickly found a towel, wet it, and wrapped it around Alan's face, blocking any air from filtering into his body without cutting off his air supply. "Thank you for your service," Aiden said to the 2 resort guards they had used as decoys to mimic Ariana and Anna, utilizing their similar height and build to deceive Agatha. "Now showtime. It's time to play dead. And remember, if you try anything funny, we will leave you with that maniac. Got it?" The 2 guards nodded. Aiden grabbed one by the forearm, and Jake did the same for the other. Leading them to the hallway, they found a strategic position and made them sit there, hunched over by the wall. Then Aiden yelled, "I'm going to try and find a way out." Agatha's maniacal cackle resounded, convincing them that she could hear them but not see them. They wondered if she had disabled the cameras, not wanting to accidentally record what had truly happened, inadvertently leaving evidence for someone to find. Jake, Aiden, John, Lewis, and Will hugged their backs to the wall perpendicular to the one where Dr. Hawthorne and Miss Anna's decoys were, waiting with guns drawn. About 5 minutes later, Jake's ears pricked at the sound of approaching footsteps, the echo of heels through the hallway ominous. "Where are you now, my little sacrificial skunk? Don't be scared now, I promise it will be quick. Just a sprinkle of hydrofluoric acid, and that stupid smug smile will be wiped off forever," Agatha said with calm resolve, as if she was speaking of something utterly harmless. "Ah, there you are." Aiden exchanged a glance with Jake and raised 3 fingers for a countdown. "Let's remove these masks, shall we?" Agatha continued in her eerily serene voice. Suddenly she gasped and exclaimed, "What the hell?" Aiden and the others geared into action, revealing themselves to her, startling her into a reflexive action as she sprayed whatever was in the spray bottle in her hand. Jake fired at her shoulder, making her jerk back, but the chemical she released had already touched Aiden and the guards they used as decoys, as well as Agatha. Screams of agonizing pain resounded in the hallways. Instinctively, Jake jerked Aiden back with him as he watched the guard's skin being eaten up by the chemical. Fear so profound surged through Jake that he was scared shitless to look at Aiden. Back at the East Wing, Nathaniel awaited a response, but a noise behind him prompted him to turn, revealing Aria, Anna, and Anita emerging from their suite with medical supplies. The trio halted upon spotting him, prompting Nathaniel's eyebrows to furrow as relief washed over him. "What is the meaning of this, Ariana?" he growled, brandishing his phone displaying the chat messages. "What do you mean about going to the hospital? Do you not comprehend that Agatha has gone mad?" he ranted. "Nate!" Tom Hill attempted to intervene, but Nathaniel shot him a glare. "Don't you even, Tom! Were you going to allow this?" he yelled at him. "Baby!" Aria tried to interject, but Nathaniel glowered at her. "Where are they, Aria? Where are my men?" he bellowed, fear gripping him. "Thank you, Jesus, they made it back," Miss Everly exclaimed from the glass wall, capturing everyone's attention. Tom Hill rushed to the glass wall, and Nathaniel joined him. With his heart racing, he watched as Jake emerged from the woods, carrying someone on his shoulder, followed by John, Lewis, and Will. Nathaniel's heart pounded faster as he waited for Aiden to emerge too. Earlier on, with his chest heaving and breath shallow, Jake turned to look at Aiden, his eyes scanning his profile, relieved to see only white stains on his mask from the chemical. Aiden stood still, afraid to move, as if remaining motionless could protect him from the chemicals eating through his protective gear. But a minute passed, and he felt nothing on his face except for the snug fit of the mask. "Heavens!" Jake rasped with relief before starting to laugh and playfully hitting Aiden on the chest. "Hey!" Aiden protested. "You lucky bastard," Jake remarked with utter relief. "You scared me shitless," he added, grinning. "Well, thank you. I thought I was toast for sure," Aiden quipped, ignoring his racing heart. He couldn't believe he had survived a chemical spill. "Are you okay, man?" Lewis exclaimed. "Father Lord Aiden!" John interjected almost simultaneously. "I think I'm about to have a heart attack," Will added, holding his hand to his chest. "Or you all love me," Aiden quipped, making a kissy face and eliciting laughter from the others. "Fucking clown," Jake grumbled, hitting him on the back of the head. "Hey! Quit hitting me, damn it!" Aiden yelled with mock seriousness. Jake let out a sigh of relief, and Aiden patted him on the back to assure him he was fine. Then the five turned their attention to Agatha and the two resort guards writhing on the floor in agony. "We need to get them to Dr. Hawthorne and see what she can do to help," Will said, gesturing at the guards. "What about this witch?" John asked, using his booted foot to push Agatha backward. "Oh, leave her to me. I'm going to enjoy putting her crazy ass on a leash," Aiden replied. "But first, let's find out what she did to her staff so we can undo it," Jake suggested. Now aware of the protective capabilities of their gear against chemicals, Jake and Aiden each seized Agatha by the forearm, disregarding her cries as they compelled her to rise and dragged her back to the side wall. "Help me!" she screeched, her voice strained yet defiant. "You'll have to help us first," Jake responded with a smirk. "Tell us what you made your staff inhale, turning them into violent, mindless creatures like zombies, and how we can stop it. Then we can help you with whatever you sprayed on yourself that's eating your skin up like nachos." They waited, but no response came. "Heavens no, I was trying to be nice," Jake muttered as he pushed back from her and retrieved the chemical spray from the floor. Agatha struggled against Aiden's hold as Jake retraced his steps to them with determined strides. "I've always wondered how long it takes for people who ingest acid to die," Jake murmured to himself as he began to unscrew the bottle. "You will not kill me, you need me," Agatha yelled in a shaky voice. "Nah, we don't. We could choose to leave you with your crazed staff and go. This is actually none of our concern," Jake replied. "Wait, maybe we should do that," Aiden interjected with a thoughtful smirk. "Please don't let us die," one of the resort guys cried out in anguish. "Sorry, buddy, you should have done due diligence before choosing to work for a psychopath," Will replied. "I say we put her in a room with a dozen of them. That should be fun," John added. "Fine," Agatha yelled, her contorted face showing pain, yet she managed a bitter laugh. "You think you can just reverse it? The compound I used is called CP13. It's a neurotoxin that overrides the brain's higher functions, reducing the victims to mindless drones driven by aggression. There's no simple antidote. Her voice trembled, but Jake guessed she must have developed some level of tolerance for the damn thing. And how do we stop it? Aiden demanded, tightening his grip on her and making her slam hard against the wall. Agatha winced but continued, her voice wavering terribly. The only way to counteract it is with a specific inhibitor, a compound called NT12. It has to be administered within 12 hours of exposure or the effects become irreversible. Her eyes darted from Aiden to Jake. Where do we get this NT12? Jake asked urgently. Agatha's face twisted into a smile despite the pain. Lucky for you, I have some. It's in my lab, in the basement of this building. But you fell. Will need me to get it. The place is booby-trapped, she supplied. John scowled. Of course, he said under his breath. So we're supposed to trust you now? Aiden replied, his left brow lifting slightly. You don't have a choice, Agatha retorted, her breath labored. Without me, you'd never make it through the lab alive. Jake and Aiden exchanged a look of understanding before nodding in unison. Fine, Jake acquiesced. Lead the way. They cautiously released Agatha, maintaining a firm grip on her arms as they proceeded towards the basement. Walking down the hallway, Agatha muttered under her breath, You may think you've won, but this is far from over. Will, catching wind of her murmurs, whispered to Jake, Keep an eye on her. She's dangerous. Jake nodded in acknowledgement. Don't worry, he assured. As they neared the entrance to the basement, Agatha halted, visibly trembling from the pain. Here we are, she announced shakily. Remember, one wrong step and the traps will be the least of your worries. Jake shot Aiden a cautious glance, who responded with a sigh and scanned the surroundings for a makeshift rope. Finding only white sheets, he tore one into strips and began to secure Agatha with them. What are you doing? She protested, her voice laden with impatience, anger, and pain. I'm going to tie you to me so that if you have any nefarious plans, you'll be risking your own life as well. To put it simply, I die. You die, Aiden explained with a grin, observing Agatha's flickering eyes betraying her deceit. With a low growl, she unlocked the double doors and activated a button on the side, flooding the enclosed space with light. She then pressed her palm against a groove, triggering several mechanical sounds to cease. Aiden leaned in close to Agatha's ear and rasped in a whisper, Good girl. They navigated through a labyrinth of narrow corridors and concealed traps, eventually reaching a reinforced door. Agatha punched in a code and the door slid open, revealing a sterile laboratory equipped with various chemical apparatuses and vials. There, Agatha weakly gestured towards a locked cabinet. The NT12 is in there. Jake and Aiden supported her while Will searched the cabinet, uncovering several vials marked NT12 alongside a set of syringes. Is that all? Jake inquired. Yes. I already told you, she started to say as Aiden took a step back, standing behind her, wrapping one arm around her neck and squeezing. She fought and struggled hard, but he held on as she slowly lost consciousness. Jake then hoisted her over his shoulder and turned, only to notice that Lewis had been recording. Good thinking, Aiden said as he stepped forward to assist Will in packing the antidotes. How do we administer it, though? Will asked. I'm sure Boss can figure that out, Aiden replied. A few minutes later, they were back on the trail to the east wing. Nathaniel let out a sigh of relief when he saw Aiden finally emerging, carrying a backpack and still carrying someone on his shoulders. Nathaniel wondered what was in the backpack. Baby, Arya called from his side in a hesitant tone. Nathaniel directed a cold gaze in her direction. Their eyes met and held. What really happened, Arya? He asked. Arya swallowed softly, quickly exchanged a glance with Anna before she began. When it looked like the guards weren't going to stop attacking and Andrew and the rest were getting overwhelmed, I thought of how we could help. Then I remembered you told me that logging into the resort satellite would expose our location. Then I thought we could use that to our advantage and make Agatha believe Anna and I were headed to the hospital. Aiden was quite explicit about everything that could go wrong when Anna said she would like to go. I figured we could use decoys, and they might not know the difference since you and I have been using masks since we got here anyway. The plan was to get Agatha to make her men stop hounding us. We deliberated on it, and we all thought it might be viable, she quickly explained. Seeing he was still looking at her with an angry gleam, she quickly added, It's my idea. I'm to blame. Anna let out a sigh and stepped forward too. I'm also to blame. I was still logged onto the chat even when you said to log out. I figured since they already know where we are, it would be pointless to log out, Anna explained. That's one of the ways they were to fool the witch, though, Anita chipped in. Anna gave Jake her phone, she added. There was no way I would have let her out of the door, Nate. Give me a little credit, Tom Hill added. Nathaniel's gaze didn't waver from Aria. Her plan was brilliant, and by the look of it, it worked. But still, he couldn't shake the thought of what could have happened to her and their babies if she had gone. Nate! Ethan's voice boomed from the suite entrance, and he knew his attention was needed. Don't leave this suite, Aria. We will talk about this later. The same goes for you too, Anna, he said, and walked past them, heading to the door. Aria could sense that Nathaniel was still upset with her. The idea of them fighting made her heart ache. She gave Anna a reassuring smile, then quickly followed after him. Baby, she called, but Nathaniel had already exited the door and reached Ethan in the corridor. Ethan was explaining that Andrew needed them on the ground floor as she hurried to catch up. I'm pretty sure he made a signal for us to come downstairs, he was saying. Nathaniel nodded and then turned around at the sound of Aria calling him. He gave her a searching gaze as she approached. The way she cuddled her stomach with one hand softened his heart towards her. Upon reaching him, she flashed a smile at Ethan and said, You could use Tom's satellite phone to confirm what they want, and you all will need to wear your masks. Her voice was low and soft. Nathaniel continued to look at her as she spoke to Ethan with an adoring smile on her face. Great. Let me get the phone so we can confirm, Ethan said and jogged back into the suite. Aria then looked up at Nathaniel, stepping closer and said, Don't be mad at me. Her voice was pleading and soft, her eyes moistened with tears. He forgot why he was mad at her for a moment, then the feeling of fear returned. Do you have any idea what would become of me if, God forbid, anything bad happened to you? He rasped, his voice deep and husky. I am not that strong, Ariana. Don't do that to me. Aria closed the distance between them and reached up her hand to grab his jaw, making him lower his head. She pressed her forehead to his, their noses touching, their mouths just half an inch apart. With her eyes peering into his, she whispered, I wasn't going to go, my love. I promise I will not put myself and our children in danger, and I will not do anything to make Andrew and the others risk their lives. Please trust me. Nathaniel nodded as he let out a deep sigh. His eyelids fluttered as she used her teeth to pull his upper lip into her mouth, suckling on the flesh before taking his lower lip. A slow tremor rushed through him as he shut his eyes and let her immerse his brain with pleasure. You are turning me on, he said in a husky warning. Aria giggled and burrowed into his arms. I didn't say you should stop, though, he added. Aria shook with laughter as he used one hand to cup the back of her neck and gave her a thorough, searing kiss. The sound of Ethan clearing his throat made them stop, the two chuckling as they turned to face him. It's not like we have zombies still trying to overrun your men downstairs, so please do take your time, Ethan remarked with a smirk. Idiot, Nathaniel muttered as he playfully smacked him on the chest and took the satellite phone from him. He quickly dialed Andrew, who answered on the first ring. Okay, what do we have? Nathaniel asked. Brace yourself, you won't believe this story, Andrew began, then explained Aidan and Jake's encounter with Agatha, noting that they had brought her along with the antidotes. You're telling me Jessica and Melinda are alive, along with Alan Gregory and a few others? Nathaniel exclaimed. Yes, boss. Although they're in a strange sleep that made them seem dead, they're still back at the hospital. The men had to return so we could handle this issue with the resort guards, Andrew clarified. That's great news. Thank you, Andrew, Aria exclaimed, her happiness clear. Nathaniel glanced at her, his eyes warm and loving as they met hers. She gave him a shy smile. His gaze was making her feel self-conscious. Don't thank me, Dr. Hawthorne. It's thanks to you, Aidan, Jake, and the team who ventured out to execute your plan. Andrew's deep voice broke the moment. Nathaniel looked away and said, If we're going to administer the NT-12 to the guards, we need to get them all in an enclosed space. We could subdue them by putting them to sleep, since we'd have to inject it directly into the bloodstream. A dose of 5 milliliters per person should suffice, but if we don't have enough vials, we could try exposing them all to the antidote at once. I can't believe she exposed her staff to NT-12, like what? Ethan remarked incredulously, his face showing disbelief. "We have no idea what abuse she may have endured that made her snap. Not that I'm justifying her actions, but we know she's always been an evil witch. The abuse might have brought out her worst," Arya said. Nathaniel gave Arya a searching look, thinking she didn't realize how far gone Agatha was, and that she had already become a stone-cold killer. "Can we let them into the lobby, then?" Nathaniel heard Jake say from the other end of the line, his voice sounding a bit breathless. "Are you okay, Jake?" Nathaniel asked. "Yes, boss," Jake replied, and Arya detected a slight change in his voice. Arya admired how Nathaniel always prioritized his men, and it was clear they appreciated it. "And Aiden and the others?" Nathaniel asked. "Hi, boss. I made it too. We all did," Aiden responded. Arya saw Nathaniel's lips twitch into a smile. "All right. I feel like there's a story behind that, but let's save it for later. Now, I think Jake is onto something. The lobby is ideal because I noticed earlier they have an air spraying freshener in there. We just need to retime it and aerosolize the NT-12 antidote," Nathaniel said. "Yes, that's a good plan," Ethan remarked. "If we can get it into the air system, we can administer it to everyone at once without needing to inject each person individually." Arya nodded thoughtfully. "It would save us a lot of time and reduce the risk of confrontation with the infected." "Do we have enough NT-12 to make this work, though?" she asked. "We got a bunch from the hospital with syringes," Aiden replied. "All right then, Ethan, Alex and I will come take a look," Nathaniel said to his men before ending the call. He then turned to Ethan and said, "Let's check out that freshener system and see how we can modify it before deciding which option to take." Ethan nodded and handed him a mask. Nathaniel gave Arya the satellite phone. She took it and the mask, helping him put it on. Their eyes locked and held in an adoring scrutiny. "This is one hell of a mask. Did you make this?" Ethan asked. Nathaniel grinned. "Yes," he replied. "Bloody show-off," Ethan muttered, making Nathaniel and Arya chuckle. Please, wait for me in the suite," Nathaniel said after Arya finished helping him with the mask, his voice low and deep. Arya nodded, and he drew back to look into her eyes. She stood on her toes and pressed a quick kiss on his lips through the mask before hurrying away. Nathaniel and Ethan went to get Alex, filling him in as they hurried down the stairs. "What was she going to do with the bodies? Did anyone ask her?" Alex inquired, perplexed. "I get that she wanted out of her abuse, but this is extreme and insane," he added. "I guess we can ask her when we're done saving her staff," Ethan replied. Walking together, they approached the sealed door, removing all the barriers before opening it. Now in the lobby, they hastened to the air freshener unit. Nathaniel unscrewed the casing, revealing the inner mechanism. "We'll need to replace the cartridge with our own solution," he said, inspecting the device. "And we'll have to adjust the timing to ensure it sprays continuously once activated." Alex nodded, already making adjustments. "We should also ensure the concentration is correct. Too little won't be effective, and too much could be harmful," he added thoughtfully. By the time Jake and Aiden arrived with the NT-12 vials, Nathaniel, Ethan, and Alex had everything prepared. They carefully mixed the antidote with a solution to aid vaporization and filled a new cartridge with the mixture, inserting it into the unit. Stepping back, Nathaniel surveyed their work. Once activated, this should disperse the NT-12 throughout the lobby. It may take a few minutes, but it should reach everyone inside. Ethan nodded. "Let's hope it works," he said, his voice tinged with apprehension. "It had better work, or we'll have quite a problem on our hands," Nathaniel remarked. "What's next?" Alex inquired. Turning to Jake and Aiden, Nathaniel noticed the white splashes on their masks and chests, along with the chemical smell emanating from them. "Now we retreat," he said, and then added, "Let Andrew know to call our men inside and allow the resort guards and any other crazies out there to mill into the lobby. But we all need to evacuate the lobby and ensure it's sealed once filled." "How do we seal them in, though, when everyone's inside?" Nathaniel asked, his voice firm and authoritative. "If I may speak, please," a voice said from their left. Aiden automatically pulled out his gun, aiming it in that direction. They all saw it was the concierge. "Shit," Jake muttered as he placed a hand on Aiden's wrist to make him lower his gun. They had all forgotten about the old man. "Apologies, Mr. Brown, right?" Nathaniel asked. "Yes," the man replied in a shaky voice. His hands raised in surrender as he glanced from Aiden to Nathaniel. Glad you're safe. Go ahead, you wanted to tell us something, Nathaniel prompted. Yes, we have an emergency shutdown system for dealing with threats. Occasionally we encounter threats from pirates, the concierge clarified. Aiden scoffed. Yeah, right, he muttered in disbelief. The older man gave him an offended glare before directing his gaze at Nathaniel and continuing. I could initiate it from the first floor. It would shut down the entire building, but we would also be trapped inside with whatever the people have become. His face etched with worry. Is it still functional? Can it be deactivated afterward? Nathaniel inquired. Yes, Mr. Hawthorne, the concierge assured quickly. Okay, if we can't deactivate the lockdown, would the glass walls upstairs remain unbarred? Jake quickly inquired. Nathaniel cast a thoughtful glance at him, nodding in approval at the observation. The only glass wall that would remain unbarred is on the topmost floor, and we would still be able to open the trapdoor to the roof, the concierge explained. That's good enough for me, Aiden replied. All right then, let's do this, Nathaniel said. Boss? We have 2 resort guards who are working in this area that weren't affected by the NT-12 poisoning. We took them with us as decoys, but they were affected by the acid spray. They need medical attention. Can we bring them to the first floor? Jake asked. Yes, please. Then you 2, along with the others and the resort men, will undergo decontamination before you remove your clothing. We can't afford to take risks with whatever was sprayed, Nathaniel replied. Yes, boss, the 2 chorused. And what about the witch? Miss Agatha McCarthy? We brought her, although I tied her in the woods, Jake said. Leave her there. Let's get this over with, Nathaniel ordered. He gestured to the concierge to lead them to where the lockdown panel was. Upon reaching the first floor, the concierge guided them to the supply room and pointed out where the lockdown panel was hidden in a corner. He then explained how it worked, and Nathaniel asked him to find somewhere to settle down. I'll have food brought to you, Nathaniel assured him. Thank you so much, Mr. Hawthorne, the older man said and trudged to a corner. About a minute later, they heard the sound of running and loud growling. Nathaniel waited at the top of the emergency stairway, while Ethan stationed himself by the lockdown lever and Alex rushed to the glass wall to observe what was happening below. Incoming, Alex announced. Nathaniel could feel his heart racing as he waited for his men to appear. It was as if he could hear a timer in his head as the sounds of growling grew louder and louder. Then Andrew appeared with the rest of the men in tow. They all rushed inside and slammed the double doors shut, immediately working to block it as it shook from the weight of the resort guards on the other side trying to push it open. When the door was secured, the men rushed upstairs, and Nathaniel left the doorway for them to rush in and shut the door as the last man entered with the wounded decoy guards. Now! Nathaniel yelled, and Ethan pulled the lockdown lever. The entire building seemed to shake as the loud sound of iron slamming shut resounded in the interior. Alex quickly moved back from the glass wall as the iron shield slammed shut, covering the entire wall. Everyone waited with bated breath as the growling grew fainter. On the upper deck, they also felt and heard the sound of the building going into lockdown. Aria took a quick glance at Owen and Liam, who were back playing their video games with headphones on after Anita bribed them with chocolate cookies and milk mixed with cocoa. In the living room, they all exchanged glances and waited with bated breath. Tom Hill pulled Bella against his side and the 2 held on to each other. Soon after, the sounds stopped, and there was a moment of silence. Aria walked to the side wall and peered below, noting that everything now appeared tranquil, contrasting starkly with the chaos that had marred the previously serene view. But in the surrounding woods, she thought she glimpsed a girl lurking amidst the foliage, wiping her face. She blinked, hoping to dispel the illusion, but indeed there was a child in the distance, clearly distressed. Damn it! There's a child out there, Aria exclaimed. Everyone rushed to her side to take a look. She should be fine as long as she stays right there, Tom Hill said as they all watched silently, willing the girl to stay hidden in the woods. Jake and Aiden guided the 2 resort decoy guys to a corner while Andrew searched for Mrs. Jonas's room. After opening 2 wrong doors and startling people, he called out her name. Miss Jonas! His deep, peculiar voice resounded in the dimly lit hallways, amplified by the tight lockdown. The door to the last room in the corridor opened and the woman peered out. Andrew grinned at her. "It's safe to come out, and since we'll be here a while, may we please get some nourishment?" The older woman nodded, her eyes clouded with concern. "Is everybody okay?" she asked. "Yes, thanks," Andrew replied with gratitude. Miss Jonas nodded before shutting the door and then reopening it shortly after, emerging with 4 other kitchen staff in tow. Nathaniel directed Jake and Aidan to a room where they supported the 2 resort guys into the bathroom. Ethan and Alex swiftly concocted a mix of water, sodium bicarbonate, and calcium hydroxide, an alkaline mixture to counteract the acidic threat. "You can get in the shower booth now," Ethan directed firmly, filling up 2 spray bottles with the mixture and passing one to Alex. Jake quickly gave Anna's phone to Nathaniel. "But with our boots, boss?" Aidan directed at Nathaniel as he hesitated, eyeing his footwear. "Yes," Nathaniel replied with a smirk. Ethan and Alex brandished the spray bottles at the 4 men. "This will neutralize any acid residue," he explained. "When we are done with you guys, you can then do the same for Lewis and the others," Nathaniel remarked. When Aidan continued to give Ethan and Alex a pointed look before taking a quick glance at his boots with furrowed brows, Jake intervened. "Quit your stalling and let's get this over with," he urged firmly. "I like these boots, Jake," Aidan protested. "They'll dry," Jake reassured him. Ethan and Alex grinned at the 2 big guys and upon getting a nod from Aidan, sprayed the 4 from head to toe with the alkaline solution, neutralizing the danger. After a few minutes, Nathaniel gestured to Jake to turn on the shower, and he did with devilish relish, causing Aidan to shoot him a glare through his mask, but there was begrudging acceptance in his eyes at the necessity of it. Nathaniel, Ethan, and Alex laughed. Then the 3 left the bathroom to give the men privacy to get out of their clothes and properly clean up. When they emerged later wearing simple casual clothes, Nathaniel saw that they'd found clothes for the resort guys too. "I'll get you our resident doctor," Nathaniel said to the men, receiving eager nods of gratitude. Taking the stairs to the top floor, Nathaniel was halfway up when he noticed some people coming down. With furrowed brows, he hurried his steps and met Aria, Anna, and Anita on the 2nd landing. "Where are you 3 going?" he asked, in a stern tone as he took out Anna's phone and passed it to her, his anger kindling as he realized they had once again disobeyed his directive to stay upstairs where it was safest. "We were coming to get you and Andrew or everyone," Aria replied. Nathaniel's frown deepened. "What happened?" he asked. "There's a girl outside, alone in the woods," Aria replied with clear agitation. "A girl," Nathaniel repeated. For a moment his mind went blank as he tried to recall if he had missed something. "It's Lillian," Liam said from the upper stair landing, catching their attention. "Liam Anthony Hawthorne," Aria called out in a growl. "Oops," he said and ran away. Nathaniel didn't quite know how to react, but seeing how stressed Aria was, he decided he probably shouldn't laugh. Anita and Anna giggled, earning a glare from Aria. "That's the 2nd time he's snuck up on us." "He's like a little monkey," Aria complained. Nathaniel smiled at her. "I'll talk to him, and we should probably ask how he knew who the girl was." "I don't want him to have been exposed to any dangerous chemicals," Nathaniel said, ushering the ladies back upstairs. Upon reaching the suite, they saw Tom Hill, Bella, and Miss Everly still by the glass wall, peering outside. It explained how Liam had been able to sneak out unnoticed. "Is she still there?" Aria asked as they hurried to the glass wall. "Yes, she has found somewhere to sit," Tom Hill replied, looking in her direction. Then he saw Nathaniel and added, "How is it going?" "Everything is under control now," Nathaniel reassured him as he came to stand beside him to peer out. "That's good to know," Tom replied with relief as he automatically pointed in Lillian's direction. "That must be the kid Jake saw with the Caldwell's nanny," Nathaniel muttered to himself. "What can we do to help her? She's out there alone," Bella inquired. "Her being out there alone is not the issue. She obviously knows her way around. The problem is Jake tied Agatha in the woods, and I hope she doesn't find her and sets her loose. That's the issue," Nathaniel replied. "And the thing is, none of us can leave this building just yet," he added. "So there's nothing we can do?" Miss Everly asked. "No, Mum. There's nothing we can do, from here at least," Nathaniel replied. "What if we get help from the other wings? Maybe we can get someone to go out there and get her," Aria suggested. "Anyone who would not be tempted to help set Agatha loose?" Nathaniel asked. Aria's brows furrowed, thinking everyone already believed they were the villains. Anna felt her phone vibrate in her pocket, the sound loud enough to attract everyone's attention. She flashed Nathaniel a bright smile and then ran off into an adjoining toilet. Aria held her hand to her mouth to stop herself from laughing out loud. "It's okay, Anna. It doesn't matter anymore," Nathaniel reassured her with a shake of his head. Anna peered out, her eyes darting as she scrutinized him keenly. "You're not going to seize my phone, are you?" she probed. "No, Anna, I'm not going to seize your phone," he replied in a tired tone, making Aria look at him. Anna grinned and retraced her steps back to him. Nathaniel waited for her to get close before he snatched the phone from her, making her shriek in protest. Ethan and Alex came in and saw Nathaniel holding up a phone while Anna tried to climb his tall frame to get it back. "Nate, I'm sorry, give it back." "You already know I'm nosy," she protested. Alex laughed, making her pause to look back in his direction. Then she drew back from Nathaniel, who was laughing, and playfully smacked him on the chest. "Tell Nate to give me back my phone," Anna said to Alex, who just grinned back at her. "Well, what exactly did you do?" Ethan asked, earning a glare from Anna. When the phone continued to vibrate, Nathaniel lowered it to take a look and saw that it was chat messages. "There's no need to get all worked up, babe. I can tell you what's happening in the chat," Alex was saying. "What's happening?" both Anna and Aria asked. "Andrew used my phone to send in video evidence of Agatha confessing to what she did, along with videos of Jessica, Melinda, and Alan Gregory showing they are still alive. He also sent footage of the staff acting like zombies. So now the tables have turned. They know Agatha lured us all here to cover up her intention to kill her husband," Alex explained. Aria and Anna gasped and rushed to Nathaniel. He handed the phone to the two, chuckling. They quickly scrolled through the chat messages, the screen filled with a flurry of angry texts from their alumni group. Sarah P. said, "I can't believe Agatha would do this. Lure us here for a murder cover-up." "Disgusting," Mark T. added. "And all this time, we blamed Nathaniel, Ethan, Alex, Anna, and Aria. We owe them an apology." Jessica H. chimed in, "I'm just relieved to see the video proof that Jessica, Melinda, and Alan Gregory are alive. Agatha really made us believe they were dead." Melinda R. exclaimed, "The footage of the staff acting like zombies is terrifying. She put all our lives in danger." Alan G. said, "This explains why everything felt so off here." "Agatha's been orchestrating all this madness," Lisa K. remarked. "How could she lie to us like that? I feel so betrayed." Michael B. declared, "We need to confront her. She can't get away with this." Sarah P. agreed, "Let's plan how to handle this. We can't let her manipulate us anymore." Mark T. concluded, "And we need to make sure everyone stays safe. No more surprises." Aria and Anna exchanged looks of relief. "Looks like they finally know the truth," Aria said. "Yeah, but we still need to figure out how to deal with Agatha," Anna replied. "Do we just leave or contact the local police?" "We're going to leave that to the school president," Nathaniel replied. "We just need to give him the full report first now that we have evidence." Everyone nodded in agreement. "Meanwhile, I suppose we can ask for help now, for Lillian?" Aria asked. Nathaniel nodded. "Sure," he replied, and left them to it as he went to look for Liam. He found Owen reading a book on one of the twin beds and saw that the other bed was empty. "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" Nathaniel said to Owen. He stopped reading to give his dad his full attention. "Is everything okay now, Daddy?" Owen asked, trying to conceal his worry. Nathaniel smiled as he walked to the side of the bed and pressed a kiss on his hair. "Everything is under control, everyone is fine, and we'll leave in a couple of hours for a better place. We'll have a more relaxing experience, I promise," Nathaniel assured. Owen nodded with a satisfied smile. "What are you reading?" Nathaniel asked, ruffling his hair playfully. Owen grinned. "Just stuff about science," he replied, sounding a tad shy. Nathaniel arched an impressed eyebrow at him, making him chuckle. "Well, tell me about it," he encouraged with keen interest. "Something about medicine." "Dad, did you know that when you take medicine, your body has to break it down and get it to the right places?" Owen said, his eyes bright with enthusiasm. Nathaniel smiled with delight. "That's right, Owen. It's a part of something called pharmacokinetics, which helps us understand how medicines work in our bodies," he replied. "Yeah, and some medicines can stay in one's body for just a little while, but others can stay for a long time," Owen continued. his voice full of excitement. Nathaniel ruffled his hair again, making him giggle. I did know that. You're becoming quite the expert. Soon you'll know as much as me, and by the time you are my age, you'll be a walking encyclopedia. Owen beamed. Thanks, Dad. Can we talk more about it later? I have so many questions, he said with delight. Of course, buddy. Anytime you want, Nathaniel replied warmly. Now, do you know where Liam went? He added. He said he was going to the kitchen to look for snacks, Owen answered. Of course. Thanks, Owen. I'll go find him. Continue with your reading, Nathaniel said as he pressed another kiss on his head and left the room. However, instead of going to look for Liam in the kitchen, he searched his own suite and then the walk-in closet. He found Liam behind the hung clothes, whispering to his pet robot. Nathaniel drew the clothes hangers aside to reveal the little imp. Liam grinned up at his dad and said, Don't forget, Daddy, you and Mom said I could have fun on my own. Nathaniel couldn't help but burst out laughing. Gosh, you are precious. But my dear boy, I forbid you to stress your mom, Nathaniel said as he picked up Liam, bringing him to his face level. I was only curious, Liam said, holding his father's gaze. There's nothing wrong with being curious, but you need to learn to follow advice and directions. When your mum or I tell you not to do something, it's because we know the consequences and want to protect you from getting hurt. Do you understand? Nathaniel explained. Yes, Dad. I'm sorry, Liam said. Okay, now tell me how you met Lillian, and please tell me you didn't have any physical contact with her, Nathaniel replied. Okay, I'll tell you, but you have to promise not to get mad at me, Liam said. God in heaven, Liam, what did you do? Nathaniel asked with a worried gaze. I just took a walk into the woods because I wanted to see the waterfall up close, Liam quickly supplied. His dad looked pretty scared for him, and he wanted to ease his fears. He then told him about overhearing an adult talking about playing hide and seek. Nathaniel didn't know whether to be dismayed or proud that he had been brave enough to venture out in the woods all by himself, and he fought hard not to laugh at the mention of adult hide and seek. So I was there, not bothering anyone. Then she came out of nowhere and started to scold me. Then Uncle Jake came for me, Liam explained. So you didn't have any physical contact with the girl? Nathaniel probed. Liam shook his head. No, Daddy. When she started to take off her clothes to get in the water with me, he said in a whisper. Then Uncle Jake was like, Nope, that's it, Liam, out of the water. And that was the end of it. Nathaniel tried to keep a straight face and nodded. Okay, he said. Is what she has contagious? Liam asked with a frown. I asked Mummy what could make someone's skin so pale, and she said it's lack of sun, blood pressure, and anemia, but none of that is contagious. I promise I did my research, he said with furrowed brows. So you've told your mum about her? Nathaniel asked. Not really. I just asked her about Lillian's skin. That's all, he said. All right. Now I need you to listen to me, Liam. If you want to go anywhere at all, it's important you let an adult know where you are going so we know where you are. And don't worry. Do you understand? Nathaniel said. Yes, Dad, Liam replied, nodding. No matter what you want to do and wherever you want to go, even if you think your mum, your uncles, or I may not agree, please let us know. It's for your own safety, Nathaniel emphasized. I know, Daddy, Liam replied, sounding contrite. Good. You know that your mum and I love you and your brother so much, we don't want any harm to come to you. So you must always be careful, Nathaniel said, drawing him into a hug. Liam wrapped his small arms around his neck. I love you too, Daddy, he replied. Thanks, buddy, Nathaniel said, then carried him out of the closet to the kitchen. When Nathaniel put him down, Liam ran to hug his mom by the legs. I'm sorry I scared you, Mommy, he said. Nathaniel caught Anna's gaze as she exchanged a smile with Alex before hurrying forward to help Aria lift Liam up. Liam gave Anna a shy smile before Aria drew him into a hug. I know you are my little version of Dora the Explorer, but please, darling, don't give your poor mother a heart attack, Aria said, making everyone laugh. Nathaniel let out a sigh, glad that his family was safe. He beckoned Ethan and Alex to follow him, and the three went to settle down in the living room. Nathaniel went to fetch them a bottle of brandy and saw the edge of Aria's notepad peeking from under her pillow. He'd seen her writing on the pad several times and wondered what was in it. Dropping the bottle of alcohol on the side table, he took out the pad from under the pillow. Flipping open the thick cover, he he realized it was documentation of his test results. He'd never asked her about the results, and every time she tried to tell him, he'd either silenced her with a kiss or changed the subject. He was just so tired of the doom and gloom his life had been for the past years, and just wanted to be free of his condition and not be burdened with reality, wanting to just not dwell on it for a little while. He took a deep, cleansing breath and made to put the notepad back, but then he slowly sat on the edge of the bed. Perhaps it was time he knew for certain if he was cancer-free. With his heart beating erratically in his chest, he opened the first page, then the second, and the third. His hands shook, his breathing labored from fear, but he didn't stop. He scanned through and continued to flip, noting that every turned page showed proof that he was cancer-free, until he accidentally flipped a chunk of the pages and saw a report on the last page of the notepad, a separate analysis of his heart. "God," he muttered in a shaky whisper.